A little different than all the rest. I'm quite old-fashioned where I had sometimes played chess. And when I'm out, I'm looking for that vintage fling. But all complexions that I adore, so hard to find, these seem impossible to score. So I dream on to someday find that vintage love. I kept on looking, but everyone's such a bore. And out of a sudden, you came through the door. At the next table, your whiskey neat. The lights were dimmed as our eyes met, and you saw me. And forevermore, I like to share that vintage dream.
something to say to me, then say it to my face, what it's all about, why you're bailing out. Think you owe me an apology, just say it to my face, you're sorry, you're
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show.
To the Benjamin Dixon Show on the clock. I am joined by Pastor Anthony Galloway, who is here with me while Georgia Fort is out on assignment, taking care of all the things that she takes care of. Pastor Galloway, thank you so much for joining me this morning. How are you?
No problem. I'm doing all right this morning. A little slow this morning, but I'm doing all right.
No, brother, I understand. And thank you so much for being Johnny on the spot to help us this morning. I want to start with this Flint water crisis and the $626 million settlement that has been approved. The funds will go to residents of Flint, Michigan. Let's take a listen to this most significant update.
A judge has approved a more than $600 million settlement for residents harmed by lead-tainted water in Flint, Michigan. In 2014, the city switched its water supply from Lake Huron to the Flint River. The state was accused of overlooking the risks of switching the city's water source without treating the water to reduce corrosion. As a result, the water caused lead in old pipes to break off and flow through taps. Flint later switched back to a Detroit regional water agency in 2015.
Settlement of $626 million means every child who was exposed, plus many adults, businesses, and others, will receive payments. The money is coming mainly from the state, which allegedly ignored the problem for years.
Okay, listening to that breakdown, thank you for putting that pasting that together for us, David, because it does jog my memory as to how this happened in the first place. Those emergency powers given to a Republican governor back in the day, and he made that switch. My memory may be jogged a little bit, but yeah, this is how we got here, and now they're willing to pay $626 million. What's your thoughts, Pastor Galloway?
Well, so it's funny. This is the way that God puts those in place. So the Lutheran Church has a water environmental justice arm in the Minneapolis Synod, and I was able to travel with several Lutheran pastors and other clergy to go and do some support for frontline workers in the Flint water crisis. This starts way before this 2014 situation, though. This is one of several crises. The first crisis was the water shutoffs, when the water bills spiked and skyrocketed, and folks couldn't afford their water bills, and people began to shut off water. And Legionnaire's disease began to run rampant in the shutoff pipes. That's what started the People's Water Board in Flint, Michigan. 2014 was another crisis that was brought on by the giving over of powers to a city manager after they ousted the black mayor of that area. And so the movement from Michigan water to there's a whole lot that goes into there. And so I just want to make sure that folks see the connection of this as one standpoint. And so when they see the settlement that comes forward and how it'll be geared towards children in particular and folks who have lost business and things like that, that $626 million starts to get real small when you think about the folks who began having issues in the early 2000s. And then this was just a compounding factor. So I'm glad that it moved in this direction, and it's the largest of its kind, but it does not address the need that might actually exist there. And it doesn't acknowledge the long history of the People's Water Board struggling for water issues in this area.
I did not know that first part. No, I didn't know that was but there's always more backstory, isn't there? There's always something that's a prelude to a prelude.
I want to offer one of the things, the stabs in the eye that we saw and heard from the frontline workers who began to tell us the fuller story, right, is that all this while Nestle's able to draw as much water out of Lake Michigan water table almost as they want, and so this idea about do we not have the resources for this again, this whole while, Nestle's having to deal with this PR issue of the fact that they get to draw copious amounts of water as they want and need for their own market. And so there's a lot of pieces that go into this that those frontline workers wanted to bring forward. Go to the People's Water Board in Flint, Michigan, and they'll tell you a lot more of those stories on the ground that help to contextualize this a lot better.
Man, listen, it's so much. You know what I think we're suffering under? I think we're suffering under a strategy of oversaturation. There's an oversaturation of absurdities that we're living under every single moment of every single day, that we're not able to really triangulate the real position, right? Think about this, man. Nestle can get all the water they want, and Flint is now, years later, how many families, how many lives have been destroyed, and now finally going to get a settlement. And I am worried. I am concerned about the distribution of that settlement and how it's going to be how much is each person getting? What is the percentage that the attorneys are taking? Because at the end of the day, you give this money out and these people still end up in poverty. Oh, that's a problem.
Well, And to that point, this is the settlement for addressing the wrongs. The judge did hold separate the decision and talk about the attorney's fees, which has a potential still to be added as something separate. So we may actually see this number go up in terms of overall money that has to get paid out. So that is still in the works.
The details matter.
One thing that I've been exploring and covering here in Minnesota is the mounds. The mounds are across America. They are historically where Indigenous people have buried their ancestors. And what I'm finding, Ben, is that developers will come through a lot of times these burial grounds, cemeteries, for lack of a better word. They are oftentimes on the highest point of the city, which tends to be a very great view of the city. And so it is attractive typically to developers to come in and develop homes or develop retail stores there. And so what I've learned is that the human remains of Indigenous ancestors have been excavated by developers. They've been removed, dug up, so that we can construct streets and homes and places to shop, places to eat over cemeteries. I believe we have a clip. I want you guys to take a listen to a woman who is leading an effort here in Minnesota to reclaim and restore the sacred burial grounds of her ancestors.
It's been hard for me too because I grew up on the east side, and even as a Native person, I brought my children to play at the playground. At the time, I didn't know that there were burial mounds all over this entire bluff, and that literally everywhere up here underneath the ground are the remains of our ancestors. I didn't know that. Indian Mounds Regional Park here is a place where a lot of the Dakota communities up and down the river would bring the bodies of their relatives to be interred here. We would put somebody's remains up on a scaffold until there were only bones that remained, and then they would be interred into the mounds. The place that you would want to bury your relatives is on some place high where they can be close to the stars, so they can find their way home along the Milky Way, and also so that they can watch over you. This being the highest point along this part of the Mississippi River naturally was an ideal place. Obviously, the way that this landscape has changed has been through colonization and what was best for the captains of industry along the Mississippi River. For the newly arrived colonizers, they thought this was the best view of the city, so a lot of our burial sites were plowed over and the mounds were destroyed to make room for houses so that people who were wealthy enough could buy those houses and have the best view of the river. I want to pay my respect.
So, Ben, I mean, when you think about people's homes are over the sacred burial grounds of Indigenous ancestors, I mean, how much more disrespectful can you get?
You can't. And I think, see, this is part of the absurdity, right? There's no respect when we talk about greed. This is merely an inconvenience for these corporations to remove the remains of. So there's something that I hold and I cherish deeply, the land of my ancestors, right? If, as much as I can trace it being a survivor of slavery, right? We have that limitation, but that land, that means something because my ancestors are buried in that town. Now, you mean to tell me what reaction would you expect if you come in and you try to, in their bones, you try to interrupt their. It's serious. But for corporations, it's merely a detour on their way to their quarterly profit margins.
And I mean, when you think about the Indigenous community and all that they have had to endure since colonizers came here, I mean, just the very thought of interrupting someone who has been laid to rest. And, you know, when we came here telling them that they weren't civilized, Yet here we are destroying cemeteries so that we can develop properties. You know, you look at in Colorado, you have a governor who went ahead and he revoked a bill that was passed in, I believe it was 1864, that said that people should kill Native Americans and they would be able to get away with it in order to take their property. This was a bill in 1864 that was passed in law. I do believe that we have some coverage on that as well. We can turn to that if we do. But it just continues to show how the fabric of this nation is so deeply engrossed in racism, and how much it I mean, how culturally incompetent we are. Take a look at this coverage coming out of Colorado.
And Governor Polis signs an executive order rescinding 2 former proclamations. They were put in place by Territorial Governor John Evans about 150 years ago, and they endangered the lives of Native Americans.
Governor Polis and Lieutenant Governor Diane Primavera held the ceremony to mark the signing of an executive order. It officially rescinded proclamations by Territorial Governor John Evans in the 1860s
that called for citizens to kill Native Americans and take their property. The order eventually led to the Sand Creek Massacre, an attack that left more than 200 Arapaho and Cheyenne Native American women and children dead.
Polis called it the righting of wrongs of the past. Colorado leaders were joined by members of the Southern Ute, Ute Mountain, Cheyenne, and Arapaho tribes and tribes across the country.
I just want to know why that was even enacted as a law in the first place.
Oh, yes. I mean, the fact that this was on the books for 157 years and it just got off the books, I think should be a clear testimony to the fact that systemic racism, all the way to the extent of murder and then pillaging and plundering the property of Native Americans, of indigenous populations, that really should show us very clearly what this country was built on and is sustained on to this day.
You know, and I want to take a moment to acknowledge that all of us are on the land of indigenous people. We see what's happening with the Line 3 in northern Minnesota being protested. It's violating treaty rights, yet and still you have corporations who are given a green light by government officials and also protected by local law enforcement agencies, despite the fact that they're violating treaties that were passed, and still so much stolen land that continues to get developed. It is
the
just
water protectors, the water protectors and the pipelines that are crossing through the you know, it is just, it's not only the disrespect for these populations, it's also the disrespect that is coupled with disrespect for the earth. You know, it's all compounded into one big absurdity.
Yeah, and when you look at environmental issues that we're facing right now, and you listen to our indigenous brothers and sisters, they really have the answer. The things that they have implemented through their culture traditionally, they respect the earth, they respect the water, they pay tribute to it, they give gratitude to it. I mean, all of the things that we really should be implementing in order to preserve the resources that we need to survive, right? Yet and still, their culture has been dismissed as being barbaric or, you know, anything like that. Yet and still, if we listen to them and become culturally competent to some of their practices, I think we would be much better off.
Absolutely, Georgia. And I mean, you've alluded to it a couple of times in this morning. The nerve of these barbarians to refer to our native comrades and colleagues and friends as uncivilized when we are trying to literally survive the barbarity of colonizers.
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time we have for On the Clock this morning, but stick around for more on The Benjamin Dixon Show.
baddie, cashing big checks. I bought the whole block out, now that's a big flex. Peeping out my Uber window, like what's next? Got new levels and new devils out the wazoo. Ain't no worries, life gets better when you find you. And if you mind you, peace will abide and hide you until it's time to start anew. So live it up, we grown, ain't got no curfew. Who brought the bad vibes? Tell that bitch move. Walking all in my inner, that's a bitch move. Pressed that I arrived, mad that I survived. All your sad attempts to send me to the sky. But I've been in the wind, been had wings, I was always this fly. Oh yes, and that's probably why you're mad. Don't let AV turn you into a trash bag. So get glad, find out why you sad. All that jealousy, you should subside. I think it's time to turn that mirror on you. Put it up close for a clear view. And look deep down inside. And soon you will find a pretty soul that needs more shine. My world has come together, and maybe I just wanna let it shine. There is no good or better. I think tonight I'm gonna make it mine. 1, 2, mean right hook. Come and test me, my mom deep will have you shook. It's a marathon, but baby girl, never let up. No need for speed, but keep your foot up on the gas pedal. Ain't worried about having a golden award when God made me to be an ice cold meadow. Why are you always pressed about my life? Talking with your friend and me's about me, saying, ooh, girl, have you seen her like the shine lights? You tried, but you could never dim my light. Please know I'm a touchable girl. I'll slip through your fingers like a real fly kite. Why you wanna turn a good day into fight night? Constantly projecting all the negativity. Take that bad energy and go and get your mind right. Say a prayer tonight to keep it so tight. You in the big world of danger, cause you dwell in that drama. I put the work in, now I got the big bags that you call Birkins. My world has come together, and maybe I just wanna let it shine. There is no good or better. I think tonight I'm gonna make it mine.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
My world has come together, and maybe I just wanna let it shine. There is no good or better. I think tonight.
Check, mic check. Good morning, everybody. Now y'all can hear me. Good morning, good morning, good people. Hope y'all got your coffee, tea, whatever it is you need to get your morning started, y'all. Happy Friday! Woo! Long weekend. No, it's not. It's a good weekend. Ain't got nothing to do. Oh, motherfucking weekend, and I can't wait. Good morning, everybody, y'all. Come on in and listen to it this My headphones have gone completely out, so I have to keep them on break. Like the big overly careful way, so y'all just hold on a second.
Climbing every mountain, keep both eyes on the top, and nothing's gonna tell me to stop. Oh, push me through the fire, all I'm gonna feel is the heat, burning underneath of my feet. Ooh, so call me crazy, tell me lies, it won't stop me, watch me rise. No more anchors holding me down, all I need is more. One more hour, one more minute, one more chance for me to win it.
There we go. Now I feel like I'm really in the mood. I got these big ass headphones on. Service sweetheart, good morning, sister. What's going on? Frida, good morning. Melanie Dennis, good morning to everybody, y'all. Hate these big headphones. Lily, good morning.
All I need is all I need is all I need is more. All I need is all I need is more. All I need is
Shout out Tuck Diesel, Roller Dragon, what's going on? And a heart. Cat Givers, good morning. Hollywood, what's going on? Good morning, y'all. Y'all know it be the same two haters disliking the stream every morning. And the same two won't say F you all day long. Y'all keep on disliking, suckers. The same two. The same two. Big man, bro, the same two. They ain't got nothing else better to do than not like the stream. You got everything else going on. Y'all ain't liking the stream. Pandemic still going on. Y'all still not liking the stream. We in a whole pancake. Y'all out here disliking the stream. That's okay. If I ain't had nothing to do, I just go around disliking streams all day too. It's okay. It's all good though. We still love you, whoever it is. Tiger, good morning, Tiger. Tiger says, putting out a call for anyone in Virginia. Neo-Nazi activity popped up in my town. Wow, Tiger. Brother Lateef, what's going on? Sophia, good morning. Laura Estrada, good morning to you. Be in the building. B, good morning. Exactly, B. As long as they're engaging, that's all that matters. And look, somebody said it might be an ex. Me and ex of me and Rebecca, maybe. Yvonne Young, she's doing pretty good. She's still in pain, but she's okay. Mara Sharice, good morning. Susan, good morning. Jay Paris, you good morning. Luke Gang, good morning to you.
And that's sweet on me. We can cook up, we can stir up, when we hook up, just you and you.
Sandy, good morning. We love you too. Hey man, don't y'all forget tonight, patron party tonight, 9 p.m. It is going down. You don't want to miss it, man. Have your face in the place tonight. Patron party, y'all. Make sure that y'all are there. You don't want to miss it, y'all. Good morning, Mom and Daddy. Good morning. Pennsylvania. It sounds like Transylvania. Y'all welcome back to the screen, y'all. Tuesday, roll that intro. My brother from another mother. Benjamin Dixon, y'all. Good morning, everybody.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show.
Welcome back, everybody. It is Friday, November 12th, 2021. I am Benjamin Dixon, joined, as always, by my brother from another mother, DJ Exclusive, on the ones and twos. DJ Exclusive, you look like an old school DJ with those headphones this morning. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm all right. These things is hot.
And we're also joined by
boxing your ears.
Man, what? I guarantee you by the end of the show, when I pull these off, sweat is just gonna pour down like a rainfall. Okay.
Hey, Pastor Galloway, sweat like drops of blood, right? Take them down oh man, that's as far as my theology kind of my memory goes. I can't go deep as I used to. Thank you. That's right. Where it was. We were going to take them to the garden of the Gethsemane. That's where we were going to take them. And who else could take us there better than Pastor Anthony Galloway joining us again for this segment, brother? Thanks so much for hanging out with us.
No problem. Before and Pastor Galloway, before we get started, I'm a man that realizes and notices a lot of things, and I don't know if maybe my Zoom just froze up, but I swear that thing say Pascal Robert, and I'm like, that's not Pascal.
Man, let me tell you something. Babatunde, I can hear Babatunde in the background cussing.
Y'all know I call out everything. Y'all talk, man. Come on.
Babatunde said, listen. In all fairness, everything that could go wrong technically went wrong this morning, right before the ship was about to take off. So we've been flying the ship as we've been repairing it, and we've been in the very capable hands of none other than our brother Babatunde. So shout out to you, brother. And also we have in the midst of all this, we actually have our guest that I want to bring into the conversation. A conversation, to be quite honest, I've been trying to have on our show for some time, but because of scheduling conflicts with my friend Andrew Padilla, we weren't able to bring him or to have this conversation. But I want to bring on Carlos Barreros Polanco, who's joining us to discuss his work around Puerto Rico. And this morning, we are going to talk the situation about the power grid, the debt, the privatization of the electrical grid, and the ongoing protests, and honestly, all but crisis that's going on in Puerto Rico. Thank you for joining us this morning. How are you?
Hi, happy to be here. How's everyone doing?
Doing great, man. Pleasure having you. Help the people. Like we have a couple of clips that can contextualize the conversation, but could you just kind of help us to understand what's going on in Puerto Rico with the privatization or the partial privatization of the grid and the protests that are coming into reaction?
So Puerto Rico's electrical grid, the transmission and the distribution of the grid was privatized earlier this year, starting on June 1st. And since then, we've seen several increases in power with a marked decrease in the quality of the service we're getting. And as far as the protests go, there's been a mix of protests against the company that privatized the electrical grid and also against the Financial Oversight and Management Board, which is trying to pass a debt restructuring plan currently.
So help us to I can see through all those things that you just said, because I've been following this story and studying these things for a while. I want to see if we can help the audience get a good visceral grasp of what's happening. Maybe you can help us understand better how we even got to this conversation. Give us some kind of background. How did they get here to the point of privatization? Because when we're talking about this is a private company, this is a corporation who is now getting some financial benefit, but it's coming at the expense of the people there, and the people are subsequently protesting. Give us a little bit of the history there.
So for years, Puerto Rico had been incurring debts, trying to pay off government paychecks, and just trying to pay for stuff in general. And then during the Obama-Biden term, they established the Financial Oversight and Management Board, and as part of their bid to restructure the debt, they kind of like influenced the Governor Rosselló, who was later ousted, to privatize this part of the electrical grid. And then Luma Energy, which is the company that currently runs transmission and distribution, won that contract. And now they've taken over the privatization of the grid from the Puerto Rican Electric Power Authority, which was the public utility that used to control the entire system of the grid.
So we're at the transition point in Puerto Rico's infrastructure narrative, where you're going to the partial privatization phase, where now Luma Energy, did I say that pronounce that correctly?
Yeah.
Luma Energy is a private corporation who's won a contract. Why is there a contract for bid in the first place? Why is something that was a public utility now being a privatized conversation? I mean, it's a contract now. Why?
Well, as I had said earlier, the Financial Oversight and Management Board was brought in to kind of deal with Puerto Rico's debt. And as part of that dealing with the debt, they influenced the government to sell that part of the electrical grid because supposedly it would help Puerto Rico deal with the debt. But from what we've seen, it just has only increased the debt and given us a worse service. Yeah.
There it is. That's the supposedly. That it's supposedly trickle down economics was supposed to trickle down, right? There's a lot of supposeds with these. I want to bring in Pastor Galloway. We were working to get a little something fixed on the back end there. Pastor Galloway, just jump into the conversation wherever it is that you see best.
Well, just saying hello. I got family in Ponce and Fajardo, so it hurts my heart to see this happening. And then, we had just gotten done talking with what happens when we begin to start to interfere and give oversight away from kind of publicly observed services with Flint, Michigan. And so we see a parallel between the two. What is some of the organizing that's happening on the ground? Like what are some of the ways in which folks are reacting to this and trying to figure out how to marshal power to address the skyrocketing costs, because we saw this with Flint water, the skyrocketing costs that began the Flint crisis in the early 2000s. And now we have skyrocketing costs here. Again, looking down the line, what are some of the ways that people are organizing against it?
Well, on the ground, there are several groups that have been trying to fight the privatization since it was announced way back when, mainly consisting of the Electrical Workers Union, UTIER, which had been protesting for years. And on the day of when the transmission distribution kind of got shifted to Luma, they did several protests at storage centers for equipment where they didn't let Luma pass until they were kind of forced to leave. And now some UTIER workers are working for Luma. Some have been distributed to other places. Others have sadly lost their jobs. But on the ground, there has been, I want to say, at least one protest every week against Luma, against the Financial Oversight Board, trying to urge the government to cancel its contract with Luma.
Man, this story really goes. There's so many components to how we got here. The one that you hear me striking at the most is the philosophical lie. The underlying lie, because and that's me saying it. You as a journalist, it is the supposed theory that this was supposed to fix the debt price crisis. Now, Anthony, I think you'll probably be with me as we question why there's a debt crisis in the first place and the connection to colonial, all those problems. But I just kind of want to harp on the many lies that are told to us that we observe as fact. But when we get the data, it shows the exact opposite, because help me to understand, did Luma do a good job at bringing down the debt crisis there in Puerto Rico?
So far, we haven't seen exact numbers, and that's part of, this is a little bit of a separate conversation, but Luma is currently embroiled in at least several lawsuits because they refuse to give information about the company to the court. And actually, just yesterday or the day before, I kind of getting my dates mixed up a little bit, a judge issued an order for the arrest of Luma's CEO because they refused to hand over the documents. And
get the hell out.
So today's Thursday, Tuesday, I want to say, although I should, yesterday or the day before, they issued an order for arrest at about 9 a.m. And then people were searching for the CEO, Wayne Stensby, until they held a special hearing where Stensby's lawyers convinced the judge to suspend the warrant until Monday while they checked the documents that Luma did give over to see if they fulfilled all the requirements. And that's what they're currently checking into.
My friend, excuse my expression, but Pastor Galloway, that connecting tapestry of doing the crime and then refusing to testify or to acknowledge a subpoena. This is a global thing. Pastor Galloway, get the last question in, and then I want to speak, or rather, just jump in there for me.
So, we have in this story the exacerbation of the problems with the electrical grid with the storm that came through. And so, in all of this embroiled back and forth, is the infrastructure actually being built? I mean, as we deal with the skyrocketing prices, is the actual infrastructure challenge being addressed at all?
Well, supposedly they're working on fixing, but we haven't seen a lot of that yet. Actually, when Luma took over, we saw a spike in blackouts to the point where there was, I believe, in early September, there was a point where about 19% of the island was without power, or 19% of the customers of Luma were without power, which is a lot of people.
Carlos, so they're incompetent on top of everything else.
Yeah.
I know this may not be like, I'm the commentary guy. I know you're the journalist. Let's listen to this clip from Representative Katie Porter, and we also have a clip from Rashida Tlaib. I was going to end the conversation, but as you're talking, Pastor Galloway, you reminded me that there's some things that they're going to point out here. Let's take this first clip. Katie Porter.
One of the places most affected by extreme weather over the past 2 decades, and that is Puerto Rico. Hurricane Maria destroyed the island's electrical grid 4 years ago and left residents in the dark for months. Today, the fragile power system.
How many blackouts have been reported since Luma took over on June 1?
The system has a very large number of outages, Congresswoman, both
Can you even count them? Is it so big you can't even keep track of them all?
There are outages every single day.
If you're having trouble doing this, and there's voltage spikes, destroyed appliances, house fires, complaints about customer service, why should Luma be allowed to continue to manage the plant if it's not actually delivering electricity?
Luma has nothing to do with the AES coal plant. Our job is to operate the electric system.
Do you not get energy from this plant that you then move along the grid?
Puerto Rico receives energy from that plant, yes.
And then you move it along the grid?
That energy is flowed through the grid to customers.
How long do you think it will be until Luna can deliver the energy in a consistent and reliable way with blackouts that are comparable to what we see in the United States and what you saw at your prior employer?
I believe that it's going to take many years to transform all of Puerto Rico's electric system. It's going to require the FEMA funding, and it requires a complete overhaul. It took decades to get where we are today, and it's going to get better month by month by month, but frankly, it's going to take many years to get a world-class electric system here.
Carlos, we're running up on time, but I am just flabbergasted at the fact that the entire island of Puerto Rico is now at the mercy of the mediocrity of this corporation that's getting hundreds. I'm sure they're getting hundreds. They're talking about FEMA funding, so we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that they're going to have access to. Help me understand.
They were asking for, currently they're asking $10 billion in funding to do.
Magnitudes of order more.
Grid. Yeah, it's like they're getting tons and tons of money, but we haven't seen any market improvement. We've seen a marked decrease in quality that we're getting, which is why so many people continue protesting, continue kind of fighting to get this contract canceled, because we're just worried about being left in the dark permanently.
It's obscene. This is obscene. What can we do? We've kind of fleshed this out as much as we could in this time that we've had. What's the call to action, and how can we help?
Well, you could write to representatives on the National Resources Council of the United States, I believe, is the one who are handling Luma Energy, and also Reps Katie Porter and Reps Rashida Tlaib are the ones who I've seen constantly dealing with Stansby and asking him the hard questions. And then also support people in Puerto Rico, kind of like boosting their voices like this, I think is a very good way to get the message out.
You know, Carlos, I keep trying to get away from it, but my producer is saying we got to hear this clip from Rashida Tlaib, because not only are we talking about incompetence, we're talking about salaries that they don't even want to disclose. Let's take a listen to this before we get out of here.
How many Luma employees executives earn over $200,000, and how many earn over $500,000?
I think it was asked that question earlier, but
And you didn't want to answer, right?
I'm not able to disclose employee salaries.
Yeah. If you want to get in the business of providing a public good and for the federal government to subsidize it or for us to play a part in it, then you understand that those salaries are also the public salary. Do you understand? So just know that it doesn't make sense that you don't want to reveal that. You don't even have to tell me the names of it. I think Velasquez and I are just curious, how many of your employees earn over 200,000 and how many of them earn 500,000? I don't need names. I just want to know how many. So if you can follow up and talk to your legal folks, I think they'll come back and tell you that that should be actually transparent and open. Do you know what the median household income is in Puerto Rico?
No, I do not, Congressman.
Yeah, it's $20,000. According to the Census Bureau, $20,000. So Luma has received millions of dollars and stands to receive billions more in an attempt to privatize the grid in Puerto Rico over the next 15 years. But the last 4 months have been a disaster for the people of Puerto Rico, and privatization I know will only worsen it. And the fact of the matter is you failed them just alone in the last 4 months. So please understand that my frustration with all of this is because they deserve to make sure that they have access to something that is very much a lifeline to medical issues they're struggling with, being able to provide for their families, of course, food, all those things, appliances, everything is so connected.
Brother Carlos, I wanted to get that clip in there. Listen, thank you so much for bringing this coverage and sharing this information with us. Tell everyone how they can get up with you.
Well, you can keep up with me on my Twitter at Vaquero2XL. It's right there on the screen, VAQUERO 2XL, and then I'll have an article later at LatinoRebels.com talking about Stensby, the Luma CEO Wayne Stensby's arrest warrant and how it kind of all went down.
Thanks so much for joining us, my friend. We have to have you back soon.
Happy to be here.
Take care.
Bye. Have a good day.
Thank you. Pastor Galloway, if you could, just for a few more minutes here, that conversation I almost was getting ready to go another layer deeper, because the connectivity with everything that's happening around us is just screaming at us.
And of course, there's the conversation around statehood and what would be in place and could be in place around that in that conversation. So yeah, the layers are upon layers are there. But you know, at the end of the day, we have U.S. citizens who are receiving this level of disservice and lack of public infrastructure in our country. And are we okay with that? This is one of the questions, and it's not just a question for Puerto Rico, it's a question for many different areas. My family in West Virginia and Appalachia, we've got places all across our country where folks, regardless of political party, regardless of race, are dealing with poor infrastructure, you know. And will this new infrastructure bill be something that can be used to address the U.S. citizens not having access to power in Puerto Rico? So there's a lot of layers here, man.
And then James, look, man, if we talking about power grids and getting some electricity up after the storms, man, I know some brothers. I know plenty of brothers who get power up after every hurricane down in South Florida around here. These white boys out here taking a whole island, taking in. Man, I think we might need to get into a new business, brother.
You terrible. I'm good.
You said you're not gonna climb. You ain't climbing up on no. You ain't climbing up on no post.
Nothing with no static shock in it. I'm good.
No, not us. But not us. But man, I know some of these country boys, man. Some of these country boys out here that get this work done. And ain't no power grid going out because of no hurricane. And it's the incompetence of it. It's the fact that these guys have more power outages every day. It's a level of incompetence that we would not allow in anywhere, but yet they are awarded a contract to the tune of what they said, upwards of 10 billion if they get what they're asking. It's like, my God.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
I want to bring on the screen my wife, Jada Dixon, and our pastor, Pastor Torrin Daly, pastor of Friendship Community Church in Atlanta, Georgia. I'd like to say Atlanta. I guess they could Google it and figure out exactly where we are, Pastor. That said, Jada, thank you for joining us. Pastor Daly, thank you for joining us. Tell us about First, Pastor Daly, I want to begin with you, and we're going to get to the event that's coming up this weekend because we're excited about it, and we're going to be there. But I want to talk first about all of this organizing in the pandemic. It's been really difficult from a church perspective because we've been able to see all the pastors online, and they've been telling us about the difficulty of keeping their membership together and keeping their community, quite frankly, because a lot of the churches don't just serve one particular house, they serve the entire community. How have you and the ministry been able to stay rooted with your members through this pandemic when so many people have gone back, but your congregation, you all have not gone back yet?
Right. Well, we have really tried to be as socially responsible as possible throughout the course of the pandemic. And, what I've noticed is it kind of varies from region to region. Those congregations that are in areas that are more hard hit or have been hit harder, or that are led governmentally by persons that maybe are a little bit more socially responsible. What I've noticed is that those congregations tended to be a little bit more conservative in regard to the timeline for going back into worship. And what I'm beginning to see amongst many of my colleagues is that late fall, winter is the time frame that a number of churches are beginning the process of going back in. But one of the ways in which we've been able to stay connected to our parishioners is by way of technology. This has been, we have been living we have a Commodore's theology, Zoom. It's just been all about Zoom over the past 18 months. And so, that's just what we've been able to do. So we have our worship experiences that take place on our social media platforms, YouTube, the other one, whatever it's going to be called, but I just call it the other one. But we have to stay on the other one because a lot of people are on the other one. So, but you can find us.
Oh no, you gotta go. Yeah.
What'd you say? What'd you say, Ben?
You gotta go where the people are, and that's one of the things that I appreciated about a lot of the churches at the beginning of the pandemic got the picture that they needed to shelter in place. There were a lot of churches of a different persuasion that never shut down, but we did. But now on this side of the pandemic, I've seen a lot of churches, even black churches, they're starting to go back, and that bothers me because a lot of children haven't gotten the vaccine yet, and there's still a lot of elderly people at a lot of these churches. What went into your decision and the church's decision to not go back in person while there's so many other churches going back?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. There's so many children who are unvaccinated, and the combination of that with the Delta variant it made it, for us, it made it really a no-brainer. So what happened back in July, prior to the Delta variation or Delta variant becoming predominant, we did a survey, and about 40% of our parishioners said, hey, go back in January 2022. That was about 40% of the congregation. That was prior to the proliferation of the Delta variant. And so, once the Delta variant became the predominant strain and we began to see ICU hospitalizations skyrocket, and then when we began to see the deleterious effect that the Delta strain was having on our children, it made it a no-brainer. And so we're in the preparatory stages of getting ready to come back into in-person indoor worship, but it is only because we see the infection rate going back down, and we are awaiting approval from the FDA, emergency approval for vaccinations for children 5 to 11, and so that will take care of a a large swath of our communities that are yet unvaccinated. And we're also hopeful that, children from 2 years of age on up will be able to receive the vaccine shortly thereafter. And so with those strategies in place, we feel a little bit more comfortable. And we also know from some of the data that we've seen from congregations that have gone back in from other regions in the country, it's slow. It's kind of like the children of God leaving Babylon, going back into Judah. It will happen in waves. And so there will be a Zerubbabel wave, Ezra, and a Nehemiah wave. And so we're preparing.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing, Pastor Daly, because I'm like, you just exegeted a text in like 2.5 seconds for the whole audience. Y'all go grab your Bible so you can understand the third wave of liberation that he's talking about. I want to bring Jada into the conversation because Jada, you obviously, the Benjamin Dixon Show exists because of you, but one of the things we're focusing on is community engagement. We're focusing on making sure that this show is acclimated and inserted into the various communities, namely churches, civic organizations. But then specifically coming up this weekend is an event that demonstrates how Pastor Daly and Friendship and other churches and institutions in general can model safely engaging your community in the pandemic without exposing them to the coronavirus. Tell us about Kids and Candy, what's coming up this weekend, and how you all are safely facilitating this encounter with the public.
Absolutely. So with Friendship Community Church, as Pastor has mentioned in speaking, that we are finding innovative ways to engage the church, but in a safe manner. So this Sunday, we're having at 9:30 lawn chairs and worship experience, where everybody can come, bring your family, bring your friends, bring your community members, your lawn chairs, enjoy a great worship experience. Pastor Daly never delivers a bad word. Everything is always on point and on time. You're not going to be disappointed. That's right. Immediately following that worship experience, we are continuing with that innovation and providing an alternative, what we like to call the fall celebration. And so through that fall celebration, what we're going to do is a Kids and Candy drive-by. So that would allow families as well as the kids to safely participate in games, have some popcorn, have some cotton candy, as well as pick up their treats as safe as possible. That's like the ultimate meaning of social distancing. Everybody will be in their own cars moving forward, moving around the church. And then they'll also get an opportunity to meet some of the ministries that are geared towards our children and youth, such as our children's ministry, our youth ministry. We also have a grandparents ministry. So we're doing innovative things at Friendship Community Church to make sure during this pandemic, we are engaging and involving the community. And so, and that's with Pastor Daly's leadership and the church office and the church administration that we're able to do those things. And we want to continue those things and hopefully motivate those in the community to do the same, to think of other alternatives that are possible.
Yeah. Pastor Daly, I know you have to get out of here. I want to ask you this last question, and then if you would tell everyone how they could not only support this upcoming event, but support further outreach like this from Friendship. But could you just help us? One of the things that we focus on in the show a lot is getting people vaccinated. One of the issues that I have found quite often is that there is a religious component to people saying they don't want to get vaccinated. Now, I'm not like Brother Mac, who's on our show, who is a Sunday school dropout. I've actually studied, I'm pretty in depth into the Bible and all that stuff. I just can't find a religious justification in terms of just like a wholesale, maybe somebody's particular interpretation, and we'll respect that. That's fine. But I don't see a wholesale statement from the Bible saying that we shouldn't get vaccinated. Could you address just briefly the fears that people have and how religion is sometimes being used to block people from going to protect themselves from COVID-19?
Sure. Typically what we do is we misuse religion. And I use that word intentionally. We misuse religion, we misuse religious beliefs in order to be able to support what we think. So I don't want to get a vaccine, not me personally, but this is what the person says. I don't want to get a vaccine. So let me find any reason that I can possibly find, real or not real, that can support my reason for not wanting to do something. It's no different than when one of your kids and one of my kids says, I don't want to do something. They come up with any old excuse. And it's a shame, because there are some leaders that lean on this kind of human behavior in which people just kind of grasp at anything. I mean, we saw that in the last presidential administration. You know, people say, oh, he's our Cyrus, he's our this, no, he's not. He's a bad guy.
That's
period.
right.
You know, and so it is nothing biblical. As a matter of fact, I would go so far as to say is, biblically speaking, what Jesus says is, I'm going to boil all of this thing down into something very, very simple. He was asked, what is the greatest commandment? Out of 613 do's and do nots, what's the greatest? He said, love God and love people. And on his way to the cross, he simplified it even further. He said, love one another. That's it. And so one of the greatest expressions of love that we can show in regard to our communities is by being socially responsible. And one of the most socially responsible things that we can do in 2021 is to be vaccinated, is to not pass on this virus to others who are more vulnerable in our communities. And so I just completely dismiss any religious, theological excuse for not getting vaccinated. There is no biblical, theological, religious support for Christian support for not getting vaccinated. I can tell you that for a fact.
Hey, y'all better come a little closer and listen to this black man. Pastor Daly, go ahead.
No, it just
go ahead. I'm sorry.
It just is, you know, we see just how destructive this virus has been in our communities in particular, and I can go further, but it's just it's a shame.
Well,
however,
it's a shame.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Tell the people how they can get up with Friendship and how they can support the event that's coming up this weekend. And Jada, thank you so much for helping coordinate this.
Well, listen, your wife, Sister Jada, has just been absolutely awesome. She is our Children's and Youth Ministries administrator, and I'm looking forward to this Sunday. And this is another way in which we have been able to keep the congregation together. It's by coming together safely in a social distant outdoor experience. And so this Sunday, again, 9:30 here at 4141 Old Fairburn Road. Put Atlanta, Georgia into your GPS. 4141 Old Fairburn Road, Atlanta, Georgia, 30349 is the location. And if you are not in the Atlanta area, just drive up here. You know, I mean, just come on. But no, if you can't drive on Sunday, then be sure to check us out on Facebook. Just search for Friendship Community Church on Facebook, as well as on YouTube. Again, search for Friendship Community Church, 9:30 each and every Sunday.
Pastor Daly, Jada Dixon, thank you all so much. And I don't know that I'm going to be there Sunday, only because now that you've given them the address, I got a lot of internet trolls who would probably like to meet me there. So I'm not going to be there, but I expect everybody else in the area, y'all come on out there, and it's a safe it's socially distanced. And I'm honestly tired of seeing all these churches have all these extra funerals because pastors are just trying to get them back into the sanctuary. So thank you for what you're doing, Pastor Daly. Jada, thank you for what you're doing. We're going to take a quick break.
Minnesota Appeals Court has denied an appeal aimed at halting construction of the Enbridge Line 3 tar sands pipeline in northern Minnesota. In a 2-to-1 ruling, the court upheld Minnesota Public Utilities Commission's approval of the 340-mile-long pipeline. More than 700 people have been arrested since June in Indigenous-led protests against the pipeline. Indigenous lawyer Tara Hauska of the Ginu Collective condemned Tuesday's ruling.
Today's ruling from the Minnesota Supreme Court is yet another example of Minnesota not responding to the climate crisis, not respecting Indigenous sovereignty, and continuing to ignore what's happening in real time all around us with smoky skies, the world burning, the rivers in drought, and water protectors being brutalized by police that are being paid by Enbridge.
Police that are being paid by Enbridge. We're listening to this report from Democracy Now!, and I take in consideration the amount of propaganda and financing that takes to have the entire world ignore the seriousness of climate disaster. And yet in the United States, we're faced with yet another attempt to construct a pipeline that could potentially disrupt the water supplies of millions of Americans, all in the backdrop of smoky skies, as was stated in that clip from Democracy Now! Joining me now to discuss is Olivia DiNucci. She's a part of Roots Action, and she is literally on the front line of one of these protests, one of these actions that is taking place in Minnesota. Olivia, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey everyone, I am here in so-called Minnesota at the state capitol with Roots Action. I came up to the front lines after there was an Indigenous-led call for folks to join the front lines in northern Minnesota, and I spent about 2 months up there with in different resistance camps. The Gnu Collective, who was just featured on the clip in Democracy Now!, Tara Hauska, Winona LaDukes, Honor the Earth, Michelle Camp, Tasha Camp McGeezy, and then there's the other camps doing really important work right there, and I'm feeling really grateful to be able to be here and be in community and led by all of the Indigenous women, Two-Spirit, and a lot of youth activists here on the ground. Yesterday, a couple thousand people came out to the Capitol urging the governor and Biden to revoke the permits. The Army Corps of Engineers, the call is for them to do an environmental assessment review that has not happened yet, and which would stop the construction of the pipeline. It's set to be finished by the end of the month, but there have been a diversity of tactics, calling on politicians and policymakers, but a lot of direct action. Folks have been, there have been over 800 arrests for people using their bodies, whether that is locking on to construction and completely stopping construction for days on end, whether that is having sacred ceremonies where people are like on easements where the pipeline is going in. If people aren't familiar with the pipeline exactly, it goes through 27 waterway crossings here. It will, pipelines always spill, so it will make the water undrinkable. That is the Mississippi, that is Lake Superior, which carries 10% of fresh water in the world, and Mississippi going through, this whole country. There's a lot of elements that I am still learning. This has been an unlearning process as well. I hope that you all will speak with Indigenous folks directly. Right now they're in ceremony and in a meeting, most of them. And yes.
No, if you don't mind, because as you're talking about it, I was just thinking I would love to hear from the Indigenous populations. But could you tell us more about Roots Action and why you all are focused here from a political, economic, and philosophical perspective?
Yeah. So one big thing is that this is something that the corporate media, mainstream media, is not covering. And we are seeing the movement. Indigenous erasure has been 600 years and beyond here, and that many folks, I think, in this country may think that Indigenous people don't still live here, and they do, and we have so much to learn from them in terms of movement organizing, in terms of building off of Indigenous knowledge to recreate and reimagine the future we want to live in. And Roots Action is, we are trying to amplify this. We want this to be on the minds of everyone. So many folks up here say this is not just an Indigenous problem. These aren't Indigenous lands. They are Indigenous lands, but the Black Snake, the pipeline shouldn't go through any lands.
That's right.
This is a human problem. Water, we all are made up of water. We all need water. And so this is something that we want to amplify, and we want more. The more awareness, the more people will see that this is injustice, and that we should all be stepping up and stepping out in this fight.
What are some of the things that people in our audience can do, right? So our audience is a magnificent collision of Black people and progressive activists, and what can we do either politically or even in terms of participating to help advance this cause?
Yes, one of the really powerful things about having experience in these camps is the intersectionality. We are Minneapolis, the movement for Black Lives after George Floyd was murdered, activated the entire world, and that momentum has carried the resistance for the Line 3 movement, which has been going on for years, and really seeing these intersections, liberation of all people in this. So I encourage everyone to read first more about Line 3, about Indigenous resistance movements in general, to inform ourselves. There are petitions. You can go to Progressive Hub through Roots Action and sign petitions to Biden, to the Army Corps of Engineers, and there are donations. Bail funds are something that are increasing. The charges are going from misdemeanor to felony theft, which increases the bail to get folks out. Another fear tactic that the state is using. And then also to come to the front lines if you are able to, if you can get yourself here, stopline3.org. They have all the camps, the ways that you can get here. That's not accessible for everyone. However, if you are able to come, inclusion and the Two-Spirit LGBTQ communities within the camps are very welcoming. Coming up here with your friends and your family, you see 15-year-olds and you see 80-year-olds. It's intergenerational. It's interracial. It is. There is a space for all of us in this. So if you can put your bond on the line, that is definitely a call. If you can sign petitions, call your Congress folks. Organize solidarity actions. There are all of these toolkits online. The organizers have been doing this work for so long, following different groups on social media. Like I had said, Honor the Earth, GNU Collective, Resist Line 3, Stop the Money Pipeline. There's quite a few out there. And yeah.
Yeah, it is so encouraging. You said that this type of coverage would not be seen on the mainstream media. And I think the reason why is because if people actually saw how many people were actively standing up in a moment like this, I think more people would show up. Olivia, thank you so much for taking the time out of that action that you're participating in with Roots Action to share this with us.
Yeah, thank you. And I just want to say again, please continue to learn directly and hear from directly the Indigenous folks here. They're really leading the way. So
absolutely.
I'm grateful to them.
And actually, so let's do it like this. If you can connect us with any of the voices that I know that they're in rituals right now. So when their voices become available, please help connect with David, and we'll get their voices amplified as well.
That's great. Thank you so much. And thank you for covering this and amplifying it to your networks.
Thank you.
swipe, swipe. Just picked up some bands, come again. They do what I do, I'm like Simon Says. I'm the running man, rapping rubber bands. They do what I do, I'm like Simon Says. They do what I do, I'm like Simon Says. Swerving, making plays, Ferrari red. Never out my zone, touchdown in my hands. Only fam around me, I can't have no friends. Had to cut you off, you left me out for dead. Ever since I was a teen, had prices on my head. Had to cut you off, you left me out for dead. They do what I do, I'm like Simon Says. Just picked up some bands, come again. They do what I do, I'm like Simon Says. I'm the running man, rapping rubber bands. They do what I do, I'm like Simon Says. Just picked up some bands, come again. They do what I do, I'm like Simon Says. I'm the running man. Don't feel right. I still wanna party with her. Oh yeah. Even when it don't feel right. You know I'ma party with her. We've been chilling on the Wednesday, slept until it's Thursday. She don't wanna leave me, not just yet. Told me all about last Friday, when she went all crazy. Didn't go to bed till Saturday. I don't wanna go without, so I asked her to stay. Though she broke my heart in a million ways, but I'm putting that aside now. I'ma feel alright now, happy just as long as she's with me. I've been trying my life every day of the week, yeah. When my baby wants up, always down every weekend. No love her too much, but I just can't get enough. She's slipping through the cracks.
Welcome back, everyone. It is Monday, October 11th, 2021. Welcome back to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I'm joined on the screen. Brother Carl Mack is on the screen. I also just want to bring our guest in. Let's just jump right into the conversation. We are following... we are celebrating with our brothers and sisters and non-gender conforming individuals of the indigenous populations. And we have on the screen here, and we actually want to bring more folks on the screen. Right now, we're bringing in Nika, also known as Jam Tuned on Twitch, a supporter of our show, and also speaking from the indigenous perspective. How are you this morning? Thank you so much for joining us.
Ma chukachapa misha hoyaba so hosho anata naka jamtum chikashi tik saya misha sayapa yakoke misha hohakloli anobolili yakoke. What I said is hi family and all of you here. My name is Nika, or it's actually Nika, but most people say Nika because it's easier. Nika means bear. I'm also Jam Tomb over here on Twitch. I do a lot of recycled art streaming, trying to teach people how to not throw just everything in the trash. Thanks for having me here, and thanks for hearing me speak.
Oh, no, the pleasure is ours. And we're also joined by today, the first day back, our brother Carl Mack, who I almost didn't recognize with your new facial hair, but we're glad to have you. And I know we're going to talk about that more on the Like It or Not. In the meantime, though, just the historical perspective, Brother Mack, the solidarity between that should exist and does exist between Black people because of our system of survival in the face of this white supremacist system, as it kind of juxtaposes with the fight of our indigenous brothers and sisters.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that's why BIPOC exists, right? Sorry.
Exactly. No, that's exactly right.
Yeah. And let us not forget the Underground Railroad, that all the stops were on reservations.
You know, and there's another voice. Let me jump in here because there's another voice, and we were getting prepared to bring our second guest on screen, and Dwayne, at any point when you're ready, I want to introduce our second guest into the conversation. We're also joined by Law Sioux, an elder of the Dakota Sioux, and I just want to bring you into the conversation. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm Washington. Tanishilo Mia Chanchaga ni Toshpa. Papa Oyate Mitoshpa. In my language, that's saying good morning, how are you? My Indian name is Drum. Everyone calls me Lost Sioux because I stream and talk about all different Indigenous issues going on today and in history, as well as I'm from the Dakota Nation, which is part of the Great Sioux Nation in so-called North America, I guess you could say. I say so-called because it's actually, we call it Turtle Island up here rather than, that's the original name before Columbus decided to name it after a pickle jar salesman.
Okay, we're getting ready to go
Vespucci.
I love it.
America Vespucci, a pickle jar salesman, yeah.
Yeah, no, you I didn't see that one coming. You came out of, but that's the historical. That is absolutely the truth. We have so much brilliance right here in this conversation, Brother Mac. I was trying to bring you in, but we have our guests here. Talk about that overlap, and as Jam Toon said, that's why we have BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, because of the commonality in our fights, Brother Mac.
Well, Ben, I would say this, given that we have these two distinguished guests on it, and they understand even more so than I, the relationship between how Native Americans, Indigenous brothers and sisters help our particular people, I certainly like to hear their perspective more and sit at the feet of our brothers and sisters and learn. So, Sister Nika, Brother Lawsu, if you could just educate us on the way that Indigenous brothers and sisters embraced us as a people and the support that you all gave us during those very trying and dark times in our history.
I wasn't sure that we were going to hit this topic, and it's just, this one's a long one that takes a lot to unpack, but essentially it's a lot, y'all, and I don't know that we actually have the time to unpack it, but Indigenous people did take part in the Underground Railroad. And in order to protect our relatives that we took in, we were forced to take ownership of them, or some landowning person could come and take them.
Or we would marry them.
My people, you couldn't marry them, and you had to own your husband or wife if you were living in the place that my people were from.
And many different tribes married them in, and when the soldiers and the slave hunters, now known as the law enforcement agency in this country, came for our Black African relatives, we literally know their family. They're married into the tribe. You're coming for who? No. And we literally were like, no, if you want a war again, yeah, we'll go to war. But they're not leaving.
There's layers on layers of our interconnections in history, and how, I mean, honestly, the only reason they were able to enslave your ancestors is that they ambushed them and put them on ships for months to a foreign land. They tried to enslave us. They just found out that you can't enslave a people on their own land. We fought back, and had they not put you on ships and broke your ancestors down to nothing, skin and bones on those ships, they would have been able to fight too. This would have never happened. But they found out that they could not enslave people on their own continent, and so they went to another and they ambushed them and brought them here.
Can I just, Brother Mac, just real quick, because I just got to drop this and I want to throw it to you. We found that out in Afghanistan. We found that out in Vietnam, but I digress. Brother Mac.
Well, certainly let me say on behalf of our people, thank you all so much for the love and support and protection that you've shown us. Clearly, one of the names that comes up even before the Civil War situation was when Lewis and Clark were so-called exploring turtle or this, what we now call the North American continent. And there was a brother named York that accompanied them. And so one of the stories about York was that it was within the Indigenous tribe that, the darker the skin, they viewed it as bravery. And so York was embraced by Indigenous brothers and sisters, and that is what helped in part secure Lewis and Clark's and their expedition across this country. I'm also reminded of James Beckworth, who also came within the Native American community and was viewed with reverence and respect. So, on behalf of our people, because of the love and support and historical significance between our two people, I just want to say thank you so much for what you all did for us, how you supported us, and certainly want to know how we as a people today can support you all, our brothers and sisters, in your trials and tribulations and challenges going on today.
One of the things I really want to quickly say, Brother Mac, it's an honor to meet you, and talk with you in person. But you kind of got a little mixed up there on the history with the buffalo. They purposely hunted down the buffalo to kill them off and put them into extinction to starve us onto reservations and underneath the foot and heel of the U.S. government and army. And by doing so, they literally almost wiped them out.
One of the quotes is, "Every buffalo dead is an Indian dead."
Thank you for that lesson. Thank you.
Well, these barbarians are really good at starving out populations. That's what they kind of specialize in throughout history. But I digress. Go ahead.
You're right, though. You're right. It is like they called us the savages and barbarians, but we are not the enemies that they claim we are. We have never been those enemies. Like when Columbus landed here and the Pilgrims and everything, even everywhere they went where Indigenous people are, they were treated with compassion and love and respect. Like even here, where Thanksgiving came from was from the Pilgrims that were here, were starving. They didn't know anything. They couldn't feed themselves. They couldn't work the land. They couldn't hunt. They didn't know anything. And they were eating themselves. And then we came along, one of the tribes came along and seen them, took pity on them, clothed them, fed them, showed them how to hunt, showed them how to farm, and also introduced them to soap. Because at that time, Europe was all about perfume wearing rather than bathing, because some priest had said that bathing was likened to sin and the devil. So I don't know where that came from, but some drunken moment, and we have the King Henry literally sat back and put out a royal proclamation of 1970 or 1876, I do believe correctly.
I think
73.
I think it was 73, but we could both be mixing that up.
It was around that time frame where he literally sat back after the French, Portuguese, and Spanish War that the English settlers started, because they wanted to go west of the Appalachian Mountains. And King Henry sat back and said, no, you're not going west of the Appalachians. You're to leave that alone. That's Indian country. That's Native country. Leave it alone.
That same proclamation said that chattel slavery would be abolished. The Tea Party had nothing to do with taxes.
The Tea Party had to do with the factor that they wanted to still own slaves, which they did. And they still do, because the 13th Amendment just switched it from chattel slavery, from the cotton field owners, to imprisonment by court. And and like we all know, right? Being put into prison equals prison slavery. It's slavery. So we see that constantly. And they're removing things that would make everything legit in anything that we do to stand up against it. They're constantly doing that because they want to. It's like a dying dinosaur. They want to continue on with this as long as they possibly can.
So Brother Lawsuit and Tanika, what challenges today is it that most affects or most impacts our Native brothers and sisters today?
Poverty,
alcoholism, drug abuse,
despair, depression,
suicide,
being invisible all the time,
and
being invisible everywhere all the time.
Literally, other than here, most places don't ever talk about Indigenous or missing Indigenous women and girls and Two-Spirited and other Indigenous people. They don't even mention it. It's not even on the news.
So I lived in Seattle for 18 years and lived in Auburn, Washington, and one of the most lucrative casinos that happened there were with the Muckleshoot tribe. So, tell me. So help me with that, because I've never understood.
So basically anything that we Indigenous people try to do, and we do really well, and make, get ourselves out of the poverty level and out of being so-called in the pockets or underneath the heel of the U.S. government, they automatically find a law to change that. The only thing that they've legally allowed us to do is gambling. Now, most reserves don't want gambling because we know full fact what goes on with that. And we don't want that. We want a healthier community.
Casinos are a survival technique because we understand that white people like to gamble, and so that they'll give us their money that way, because the rest of the money that we get from them sits in trusts, and we get like 5 cents to the dollar of it. So we have to come up with creative ways to fund our people.
Yeah. And even that's not fully. Like even the casinos, we don't get fully money back. It's usually a chunk of it's going to whoever bankrolled or helped fund building it, right?
Okay, so and again, I'm on the outside looking in, and there were a lot of stories that that we heard about, and a lot of it had to do with the exorbitant amount of money that was coming in. And I'm gonna stick with the Muckleshoot Casino because I was very familiar with that. Went to that casino quite a bit, but it was said that the amount of money that was coming into that enabled the Muckleshoot people to now give X amount of dollars to every member of the tribe. So it was sold to us or told as though the lion's share of this funding was going to the Muckleshoot people, thus
that could be the case with the Muckleshoot people. All of us nations are separate. We're all different. We're not. There's not just one Indigenous nation on Turtle Island. And again, Columbus was an idiot. Please don't use the term Indian. There are Indians. They're beautiful. They come from India. They have their own amazing, wonderful culture. We are native Turtle Islanders or Indigenous, but we are not one nation. There are 2,500 nations.
Wow.
95% of us were wiped out. There were 2,500 nations. They estimate between 1 and 18 million of us were on this continent before Columbus came here. And they broke us down to 273,000 people.
Wow.
From 2,500 nations.
We're making
all of us are different. We're all very different. All of our nations are different. There is similarities and there's intersections in all of our indigeneity, but we are all very different. What one nation does for their survival may be completely different than what another nation does for their survival. So the casinos, I feel, they're an example of how we have to do things and how we had to conform to be able to survive at all. But it is not indicative of the greater experience of indigeneity, because not every nation has a casino. I mean, there's just...
I mean, my relatives down in South Dakota, like literally Pine Ridge Reservation, they have, and other places around there just have like liquor stores just off the reservation territory where they sell an exuberant amount out of liquor, and it's owned by white families.
So let me ask this question: that given, and again, I'm not sure, I don't know the specific details of the Muckleshoot, but if you find that one tribe has found this path, this way to uplift, is there any type of organization, any type of meeting between all of the existing nations to learn best practices from one another and how to overcome?
We do.
We're working towards that. There hasn't been a lot of ability for it, but we're working for it. It's kind of the goal. It's also the goal with like any visibility. I mean, kind of the only reason that I'm willing to be on this camera right now is just any visibility. Making us three-dimensional people helps us.
That's right.
Be able to come together like that, find communities like what I found with y'all here at Lion. I spend every morning with y'all modding, I love y'all. So it's a lot of that, just finding those spaces and finding those people that will listen and hear us and enable us and give to find those ways to come together, and we are finding ways to come together, but it's not a mass.
And I want to. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Brother Sue. Go ahead.
All good. I just want to point out also that just because a band or a tribe gets a casino doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing. It's also used to dwindle down the people on the registry for being a part of that band or tribe.
And certainly, I don't want to focus so much on the casino. It was just one aspect of it. But what becomes the challenge of these sovereign nations all coming together? What are your biggest challenges of coming together, trying to learn best practices, even when it comes to,
blood quantum?
Blood quantums and loss of history. Even our own people don't all understand our own history. There was a lot of whitewashing for our survival of our own histories within our own people. I mean, there are Chigasha that don't even understand our own history. They just started telling certain truths this last year. So that is a huge one too. I mean, the same way that y'all are written wrong, the same way they gloss over certain aspects of slavery and things, they do that same thing with our history. What you read in books is predominantly wrong. You probably actually don't know anything about us or just about this much.
Yeah. Literally, it's been over the past couple hundred years that there used to be almost 95% of the population of tribes knew and speak their language and could practice their ceremonies and knew their ceremonies. Now it's down to about 15% of the tribes that know it, and we're working really hard to gain and bring back that wisdom and knowledge and our voices and our traditional language. Because they say once we lose our language and our culture, then we're no longer Indians, and that's how they put it.
Believe me, I can absolutely relate to that. Now, you used the term blood quantum. What is blood quantum?
Blood quantum. You know how with our Black African relatives, they use the 1 drop rule so that the slave master could rape a young Black African woman in their basement. And if it popped out a child, they would always be slaves for generations. There was no escaping it.
That's right.
They use the blood quantum for us. So you have to be 51% or more in order to be counted as an Indigenous person. So once you get under that 50% and less, you are considered by the government no longer Native, even though the tribes, many different tribes are all like, no, we know who our relatives are. We know who's our tribe members. We know who they are. That doesn't wash, which is also part of the things that come along with casinos, because it's specific to those things. It's specifically reducing the amount of Indigenous people on paper.
That's right.
Not necessarily in reality, just on paper.
But it's not only that. If you can't tie your indigeneity to one nation, like I meet blood quantums, even looking this pale like this, it's not my fault. Colonizers dip their wit everywhere in my heritage. What it is it alienates our brethren that might be of mixed descent, of any mix, whether it's Black, white, and Indigenous, or Chata, Chickasaw, Dene, white, Black, and Chinese. If you don't have enough of that one nation, you don't get to be on the registry, so you get zero benefits. So we have brothers in our community, one brother in particular that I love, that he looks more Indigenous than me when you just glance at him. He speaks the languages, etc., but he still doesn't meet the quantums. I do. What sense does that make?
Brother Mac, let me jump in there real quick, only because we're coming up at time, and I do want you to get your question in there, Brother Mac. We're going to get ready for a break. I want to pause for a second, though, and I just want to thank the two of you for exposing us to this level of information and this level of conversation, along with what's needed for the Indigenous peoples across this nation. And then to just hear what you guys are going through, what you all are going through, it sounds so much like what is happening in Black communities. But it sounds like the game that is being played here, Brother Mac, and I'll toss it to you. And then I would love to get a last word from both of our guests before we go to break. What the game that is being played is, if you were Black, this country clearly didn't owe you anything because of chattel slavery. They didn't see us as human. So everybody who was Black, be Black. But if you were of Native descent, if you're indigenous, then they were like, oh, no, we got to cross a hurdle for you to get up there. Because why? Well, there's treaties. There's debts that this country clearly owes. So they've been playing some games with us over these years. Brother Mac, pose your question for them, and I'd love to hear our guests before we get ready to take a break. Brother Mac, or our guest, anyone, whoever has a thought on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. So as we go back to the blood quantum, I understand that that's America's definition of blood quantum. And you talk about these benefits. So is there some benefit that, quote unquote, America gives to Native Americans that meet the, quote, 51%? That's one part.
Pennies, chump change.
But the other part is,
not really.
Well,
no,
for my nation,
it's what they owe us from the treaties, and we don't even get that. And some of our nations don't give checks because they put it towards mutual aid resources.
And like the Sioux Nation has won a land claim, and there's like millions of dollars sitting in a bank account that no one will take. No one from the Sioux Nation will take, because we don't want the money. We want our land back.
Land back.
We want the treaties honored that were literally changed after they made it with us on their way back to the government. They changed the wordings of it so that these treaties no longer represented what was made with us Indigenous people here on Turtle Island. None of it was.
So given that the benefits are small, as described by you all, how do you all, as Indigenous brothers and sisters, how do you all define who is Native and who isn't? Is there a percentage?
Can I reframe your verbiage there? There aren't benefits. We don't get benefits. It's money that they owe us, that they do everything that they can not to give us anyway. It's money that is set in trust, that they have owed us for hundreds of years, that is sat in trust earning money, that they make us pay lawyers to get, that we end up 5 cents on the dollar, y'all. There is no benefit. I need that taken out of everyone's vocabulary where it concerns Indigenous people. There is no benefit.
We pay taxes just like everybody else.
So we got listen, we got a lot of miles to cover because there's so much to unpack here, and there's so much more. I am curious about how many acres we're talking about land back, because they understand the value is in the land. They know cash they can get out of you. They can put you in enough poverty to squeeze millions of dollars out of you, but they can't do nothing with you when you got your own land. That said, listen, thank you so much, Jam Tune, for coming on this morning. And thank you so much, Lawsu, for coming on and sharing this rich history and this perspective and giving us better understanding of the common fight between Indigenous people. Where can people find and support your efforts?
I'm at twitch.tv/Lawsu. I stream, twitch.tv/Lawsu. And that's where I stream, and I cover all different kinds of things, including like the residential schools and everything. So.
And Jam Tune, how can everyone get up with you and support your work?
I am Jam Tune on Twitch. I do mostly recycled art. We have I'm the pressure valve relief. So come have fun with us. And then I hang out every morning with y'all in the Twitch channel.
That's right. And you're moderating.
I'm your mod.
You are our moderator. Thank you so much for what you do. And thank you both for bringing this so that we could have this rich conversation about the true history. Brother Mac, if you can stick around a little bit longer. Go ahead, my friend.
I just want to really quickly state before we end this thing. If you don't understand land back, please come and talk to us Indigenous people. Each tribe has a different outlook on what land back will be. But it benefits you as well, because that means that there's no more parasitical landlords kicking you out because they've already received money. from the government during COVID for your rent, and then saying that you still owe them money. There is no landlord I know of that did not sign up for the program to get money. They're too greedy to pass that up. And all of these lands that they're doing this to you all is all stolen lands. It's stolen from breaking treaties because people like Custard and them found gold in them hills, or they found oil. They keep doing all these different things to break and violate treaties. Treaties are the ultimate supreme law of the land, which means even the law enforcement is violating treaties.
That's right.
And when we seen the people at the Haitian people, our Haitian relatives at the border, literally many of us thought it was the 1800s again, and we're like, fuck, do we need to get our guns? Like, what the fuck? Pardon my language, sorry to swear. But you know what I mean? It pissed a lot of us
all right.
off.
That's all right. My mama gonna send you. She's gonna send you the bill for the cussing. But it is so. These are stories that we don't hear. I got to get you guys. I got to get you all back. I think we need to have a regular segment to have a regular reminder of the intersection between our fights and the fact that there's a hypocrisy. I want to close this. We're going to go to a break. I'm going to turn it to DJ Exclusive. And we're going to go to Like It or Not. So everyone, please stick around. And Jam Tune, thank you so much for moderating for us over there on Twitch. But there's a hypocrisy that is in front of us, and I think about it all the time. I think about the fact that every single day in this nation, there is a group of people who have to stare in the glaring hypocrisy of this empire being built on the bones and the land of their people. Now, if there's a moral arc of the universe, it owes a debt to the indigenous populations, and it owes a debt to black people. So pay us what you owe us, give them their land back, and run us our reparations. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's going to be Like It or Not going down. DJ Exclusive, it's in your hands.
Rest in peace, my uncle Mark Quayle, and to all my people who lost their lives at the hands of white police.
Shout out again to our guest, man. Shout out again to Lost Shoe and also Nika Jam too. Sister, we greatly appreciate y'all for coming through today. Awesome conversation, man. It was definitely needed to be had. So thank y'all so much for joining us today. Jam Tune, this for you. Barca, Our Lives Matter.
Life of a rape, she put liquor to her lips. He's bashed in the pack, he got broken in the bits. He's got his hands up, he's innocent, he didn't do it. Why my people gotta die? Ain't shit changed since we've been colonized. We want land rights, profess no treaty inside, and we still gotta fight to stop us keep taking lives. I'm sick of it. Sick of being traumatized, scrolling down my timeline, see we lost another life. It's ridiculous. I wanna heal as a nation, but these ignorant dummies got me losing my patience, but we still fight. Hold your feet side. This my war cry, how many more of my people gotta fucking die? Out here on the streets, real steady, just nothing lights, red and blue, flashing by, tricks playing in my mind. I'm out here trying to live it right, wondering if I die tonight. It's heavy how we living, but we living our way. Ready for the day, in Miami we pray. I pray that a small gear don't stay safe, and I hope that our babies get to see better days. Questioning if anything's ever gonna change. Locked in the cell and the smells real strange. Locked in my mind, but my brain ain't caged. I'll never simulate, I'm a proud Dubai. It's what's about me to get the picture. If you don't stand with blacks, no, I ain't rocking with ya. Black lives matter. Our lives matter. They got blood on their hands.
There it is again, Jam Tune. Thank you so much for sharing this with me. Barca, again, Our Lives Matter, man. Make sure y'all go check that out on YouTube. Real quick, get started with Like Not. We're going to go get our new patrons back up. Our new patrons ran off so fast to get that out the way.
No more double, go ahead and detox. Came from the trenches, they ain't showing us no love. Dagging in the city.
All right, y'all. New patrons for today. New patrons. We have John E. Rosie Bean. What's going on, Rosie? Diesel is on the day on Like It or Not Patreon. Welcome, brother Chuck Diesel. Again, our new 2 subscribers. We have Blue Daddy 2 who subscribed with Prime. Sammy Lynn, the Con Dragons gifted a subscription. The Anarchist Laboratory Son. Chicken Fire Dragon gifted a subscription to Bestie 1. Ginger Snap subscribed and commented, loving hearing being in the truth, speaking the truth, and featuring other left-minded individuals who normally never get a break in the mainstream. Much love to you. Much love to the Twitch chat comrade. They've been subscribed for 5 months. Then we have Nestle Wipes who resubscribed, and Jason Society rated our channel with a party of 9, and Dr. B Win. Oh my gosh. Dr. B Win is rating with a party of 7. Welcome, 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 y'all. Y'all make sure y'all come on in, get your coffee or tea. You doing whatever it is you need to get your morning started. Y'all like it or not, is about to start soon with our sister from another Mr. Rebecca Azor. Make sure y'all stay tuned, y'all. Benjamin Dixon Show. Good morning, everybody.
I'ma love you way before I got a mission. Told this mama about my side, gave her some tissue. We were just a hood, baby, with some mission. Hood, baby, from the struggle. Long time had a hustle. Glad we made it through. I'm just glad we made it through. Hood, baby, from the struggle. Long time had a hustle. I'm glad we made it through.
Georgia, if you're watching, Georgia, this joke is for you. What state is known for its small drinks? What state is known for its small drinks? Minnesota. All right, y'all. Y'all know what time it is. Y'all know what time it is. Y'all, what other way to start the show by doing this? Yeah. Oh, okay. They said not yet, so we give you. Oh, what y'all say? Y'all got time for another dad joke? Sure. What do houses wear? What do houses wear? An address. Hey, Ben, what kind of shoes does a lazy person wear? Loafers. Hey, I'm filibustering. This is me filibustering until I press this button. I got you one more. How do you throw a party in outer space? How do you throw a party in outer space? You plan it. You plan it. All right, y'all know what time it is. Y'all stay tuned. What time it is? Good morning, y'all. Get your like it or not tea. It's time for Like It or Not, y'all. 9 a.m. to 10:30. Yeah, Like It or Not is on your channel. Yeah, politics and culture is we change game like we're supposed to. Yeah, interviews and all the news we get to choose what gets the views. Like it or not, with Queen Azor. I need to send the song to y'all. Like it or not. Oh my God, Dr. Mac ain't heard the song yet. Like it or not, y'all stick around. Oh, Rebecca Azor is coming through. You know she got a good story for you. Oh, Benjamin, that's my dog. This is his show. He's a politics pro. I am your DJ. DJ exclusive. Y'all know who I am. I stay dropping them jams. Like it or not, it's going down. Like it or not, y'all stick around. Oh, like it or not, it's starting now. Like it or not, it's about to go down.
Like It or Not with Benjamin Dixon starts now.
And we have Olaimi, I hope I'm saying that right, Olaimi Olorin, who is a public defender at NYC Legal Aid Society, a legal observer at New York City chapter of National Lawyers Guild. She is going to be joining us today. There she is. Let me tell you something. Hold on. This morning, I went to her page, right? And I saw that she was on BNC, the Black News Channel. And I said, oh, give us blonde, ma'am. Give us blonde. Okay, I live for it. I absolutely.
I be switching it out. I like the concept that they can't keep me up the court.
That's right. Okay. That's right. That's right, sis. I love it. I was like, okay.
They gotta go with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they might look at you and be assuming, right? And then you come and you're like, I'm educated, and this it doesn't matter, right? Because
people like to think you got to change it, and you don't.
Exactly. Right. Because Karen over here and Sarah over here are rocking their reds and their purple highlights and whatever.
We're just looking rough and raggedy.
Rough. Yep. Unkept. But thank you so much for joining us here, Olaimi. Can you introduce yourself and let the people know who you are?
My name is Olaimi Olurin. Y'all could say Olay, make your life easy. I'm from the Bahamas originally. I moved to the U.S. in 2008, and now I am a lawyer here. I'm a public defender working to help Black and Brown people combat a racist injustice system.
Okay, girl. See, my Caribbean sister, I'm Haitian, you're Bahamian. We got that connection there. So you're an immigrant yourself, right? Yes. Let's just dive right into it. You're an immigrant yourself, and I did see a couple of tweets that you did put out saying, the legal immigration process here in America is super duper tough. And I know because, I'm a product of immigrants myself, and my parents, I got some family members who didn't have the opportunity to come here legally, but I do have my parents who came here legally, and even them getting their citizenship, even them getting papers, even them getting anything legal through the system took years. I'm talking like years, for one person a decade, just to be considered American or have citizenship or have papers, anything legal. So definitely speak about that process for you. I know you were tweeting about it the other day.
So my parents still live at home in the Bahamas. Actually, I'm the first person in my family to come to the U.S. and the only one for a while. My sisters ended up coming one by one. And I came because I wanted to be a lawyer in America, and I looked into the immigration system when I was like 14. I'm like, all right, if I get in the education system earlier, I get my degrees here, I'm in this community, then it'll be easier for me. I mean, probably easier. That was the right idea. I'm still present, but as far as being able to get citizenship or anything like that, that's still not an option. Still hasn't happened. So I'll be the first, and hopefully eventually I get it, but it just isn't a thing. And people tend to think after you're here for a while, you start to blend in, people think, oh, you're American too. They catch you on the right day. You code switching enough, they're like, oh no, they don't mean you should be straight. Like, I remember I was on 7 months unpaid immigration leave trying to get a visa that I ultimately was denied for. And I remember talking to my own friends. I tell them I'm an immigrant every day. This is the situation. I was talking about it all in law school, and people are just like, you'll be fine. You're a lawyer. They want people like you. They sure did deny me. I was like,
wow.
Yeah, I was blown away because, I did qualify. I applied for an EB2 visa. It's for, an alien with an advanced degree, an outstanding person. I had every letter, reference, every, degrees, all these awards. And they were like, yeah, you have an advanced degree. Yeah, you're an outstanding alien. We give you that. They were like, you want to be a public defender and that only benefits the poor. And that's not of interest to us. They straight up wrote it. They said the quiet part out loud. I was like,
wow.
Yeah, it hurt. It hurt.
So you couldn't even be considered, an American to help do more work for the people that are here, people that look like you, people that may have issues, anything, because public defender is kind of like the low level.
Which is
right?
crazy because, the national interest waiver, what I had applied for, where you're able to apply for yourself, the whole idea is that it's something that is in the interest of the nation, right? I'm the only constitutionally court appointed lawyer. Public defenders are mandated by the Constitution. You would think that counts. Like the court has already decided. I was blown away. I'm like, wow, how's that possible? I live in New York City. I've gotten, 1,000+ people out of jail, and it's wild to really, really hear it and see it. I think to myself, okay, well, I went to school here. I got my high school degree here. I got my bachelor's degree here. I got my JD here. I'm admitted. I passed the bar here. I'm admitted to the state to practice in New York. I haven't lived in the Bahamas for 13 years. I have no degrees there. That's not where I'm at. But yet it really doesn't matter. You can't claim this as your home.
It's amazing that they just outright said this to you.
Yep.
Right. That they said that because of what you're doing. But had you put down there that you're going to be a corporate lawyer,
yeah,
for like a major corporation or whatever, then it's very likely they would have approved you. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. If you could, the thing is, right, they want you, the other option was like, you can demonstrate this huge business plan where you plan on bringing America millions, but you literally can't do that. As an immigrant, I'm not allowed to make any money outside of my job. I can't do that. I can't start a business. I can't collect any money. I can't even start a YouTube paid for subscription. Like I cannot do it. So it's like, I've been here for 13 years being told I cannot make any money. I cannot have a business. Why would I have that plan? You know what I mean? They get you one way or the next. Is basically what it is. You can't, I did everything I was supposed to do. I planned it out 13 years in advance. Like I've been thinking about this since my teen years. It didn't pop up on me. So I'm like, I'm as prepared as I can be. So when that came up, I'm like, I really don't know what else I could possibly have. How could I have a business plan that I'm not allowed to have? I can't start a business there. I can't go get a loan. I can't do any of those things. So why would I have it?
So in your case by yourself, you show that immigration is not only a class issue because of how they have that thing so tangled up that you got to benefit the rich or you can't come, but it's also a black issue. Like this is an issue for us.
It is. No, immigration is a black problem. It just hasn't gotten framed that way, and, unfortunately, as a community, we have so many issues, you know what I mean, to tend to in terms of this country, in terms of the media cycle. So I see how it happened. But in actuality, despite how the media portrays it, most immigrants here are people who came documented. You know what I mean? They came documented and their visa overstayed. And a lot of immigrants are, in fact, black people coming from Haiti, coming from the Caribbean, coming from Africa. And these are the places that don't have these immigration carve-outs. So it, in fact, really deeply is a black issue. People just aren't thinking about you when they see you. Like, I tell people I'm an immigrant all day long, but that's not what they think of when they see me. They remember, they know I'm black, they know I'm tending to those issues. But as far as being an immigrant, no. And especially with America advertising itself as a melting pot so often, and everybody is, my parent was an immigrant, and this is easy for people to think when you say immigrant, you mean, oh, your parents came here or your family's from here. And I mean, no, I'm from there. I came here. I'm not from this country.
Wow. I absolutely appreciate that story. And first of all, you're on both sides of it, right? You're fighting for people, their rights here in America, right? And they're telling you, I mean, that's low level and you're an immigrant. I mean, it's not really doing anything for us. So, and you can't monetize outside of that to even make it better for you, especially in this time where social media is popping for you to be monetizing on your work. They're just like, you don't deserve because you're an immigrant. Here in America, the melting pot, right? The one where we're supposed to come here as immigrants and say, we've made it. This is where all immigrants can get their dreams to come true. This is the place. And it's like, it's really not, especially, for you, to me, you said like, this is a true hardship that nobody really understands. If you're if you're not an immigrant or if you're not a product of immigrants, Black folks already got it hard. And like you said a key thing as well. They try to frame it as if immigration isn't a Black issue.
Yep.
And in reality, it is. Like here, if you're Black or brown, that is definitely an issue as an immigrant, because we don't see that with the clear people, with the Europeans or whoever who's coming over here. They get to come here, things are easier for them. The hardships aren't relatable when it comes to them. But when it comes to the Black and brown immigrants, it is definitely really, really tough. So what are some things that you're doing now that are helping get this word out and help people understand what's really happening?
I think it's necessary to talk about it, right? Like in the 13 years I've been here, I've never really heard that story. I know it well as far as my friends, people I know. Like, I am not the only international student. I know I'm one of the few I know that are left still here. I have Bahamian friends who have been just as qualified and competent, came to America, couldn't stay. Even my own sister. I have a sister who went to undergrad, graduated with all the honors, 3 sisters, couldn't stay here, had to end up going back to the Bahamas. That's where she's in med school. So I know it well like that, but people don't know it. They don't really get to hear it, because the reality is immigrants aren't in the position to tell your story. You're either wrapped up in an immigration fight and you don't want to upset USCIS, right? So you're doing that, or you're out the country. It's only one way or the other. So you don't really get to put that narrative out there. And what happens is people think that the immigration, they think it's like, oh, just do it the right way. If you just do it the right way, just apply. They don't realize you can't apply. They haven't heard that, because the narrative is dominated by people that are intentionally trying to create this appearance that immigrants just don't want to be bothered. They just want to come here illegally. They just want to do it the wrong way. And you never get to hear from other people because they're not in the position to talk. So right now, what I'm just doing is talking, making noise, making sure they know.
So and I know we're talking about the legal immigration side of it, right? But we also have the illegal immigration side of it. And that is also tough, because people, they don't have an opportunity. They have a lot of the walls built, in front of them, where they can't even come to America. And then we have a woman who is our vice president, who's a product of immigrants herself, and who is telling folks, don't come.
That's how it goes. You'd be shocked how often you hear some insensitive immigration comment from someone you think would understand. That's why I plan to keep all my immigration letters to show my future children, they don't know what it is, so they're not saying things like that. But it's always been the case. The narrative is very insensitive. And even myself, right? Even with my own immigration narrative, I'm very privileged, right? I am still someone that was privileged enough to be able to qualify for a student visa to come here.
Yeah.
Like that's a picture of privilege. And my parents send me to this country, pay for boarding school. That's all very expensive. Just getting the visa, the amount of financial support my parents had to be able to show. So I'm very, very privileged in that. And I'm privileged to still be here. And that being said, I feel like I owe it to other immigrants like me and other immigrants that haven't been so fortunate and aren't able to be so fortunate. They didn't have the parents to pay for, school 10 years in advance, weren't able to do all of this. I need to talk about that, because there needs to be more routes for everybody. Because undocumented, they frame it as 2 separate immigration issues, and it's not. They're very, very intertwined. How you end up undocumented is because there were no paths for you to be documented. That's what happens, because if you build your life in a country, you've built your life there. Your community is there, your family, your friends are there, your ability to work, everything is there. And then they up and say, go. It's not that easy. And, it really isn't that simple. So I feel compelled to do that for other immigrants.
And we need more people like you, right? Because and I'm not saying that just for a pat on the back. I'm saying you're doing some work, even when they're trying to restrict you from doing the work, because that's how they do it, right? They're saying, we gave you an opportunity to come to America and get some schooling. That's the crumbs. Grab that. And I'm glad that you haven't stopped there, because the more that you do the work will help somebody else. Because this immigration issue isn't going to stop. This immigration conversation isn't anything new, but when we highlight it and make it and point out what it really is, and how the only, you said there, when it comes to immigration, when it comes to the legally documented and the undocumented, those are the same. They're both intertwined. I definitely agree with that. But when it comes to the Black and brown immigrants and the others, that's 2 separate things. That's a 2 separate lanes. And that's, and the fact that you're educating people on that. And then you're the one, and I talked about this yesterday on our show. It's so good to hear it coming from somebody who is experiencing it. That is where it makes it, like, well, how do you know? Because you were just said like there are so many professionals or people that you wouldn't even think would be on the wrong side of the immigration conversation, but yet they are, right? And then here you are who've experienced it, and like, no. These are the issues, and this is what's happening, and this is just there's so much. That immigration conversation is so broad. Yeah. It's so much going on. There's so many layers to it. But right here, this particular portion is about you, an immigrant who came here, and there's so much like you who come here for the opportunities and who are blessed, when in comparison to our immigrant brothers and sisters who don't get the opportunity, and then still told you can't get nothing else. It's not here for you.
Yep.
Unless you're willing to not help the people.
And I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I might not have been aware of it when I first came to the country, but at some point in time, I realized what I needed to be doing was helping people who look like me in a criminal system that disproportionately profiles, targets, arrests, and incarcerates them. It's just insufficient to me. For me personally, I can't be a Black attorney and not do things that I think are going to advance Black people. It's not going to work for me.
Come on, somebody.
Yeah, come on, somebody. You are a Black attorney, and that to me, I was saying yesterday, Black women, Black women. Listen, ain't nobody gonna. They try to minimize it. When we say attorney, that's something big, right? Especially in the Caribbean community. You're an engineer, you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, you're a nurse, and you have made it. Okay, you are there, and nobody can take that away from you. And you're doing the work. So, what can we expect next from you during this journey for you?
Let me tell you, I'm just going to continue showing up in Queens every day. Every time there's somebody that needs me, I'm going to continue representing them. I'm going to continue advocating for them. And I'm going to continue saying the things that people are scared to say. I think the benefit to my career is this. I'm not from here, and I really have no ability to, like you said, I can't monetize certain things. All I really care about doing every day is fighting for people that need me to. So that's what I'm going to do every day in, day out. So I'll continue doing this.
Listen, for everybody who's watching, definitely let them know how to catch you, how to support you, because if anything, if we can't, if you can't monetize, I want people to push your work. And we'll hopefully, that pushes the coins your way, because you deserve, sis. So definitely plug in where people can find you.
Yeah. You can follow me on Twitter, any social media at Miss Olurin, MSOLURIN, and check out right now. I'm publishing a series. I thought it was important that I amplify the voices of people actually in the criminal system. Too often we hear from judges and lawyers and people that actually experience it. If we want to know what's wrong with the criminal system, we should be talking to the people that are actually being impacted and caught up in it. So I'm publishing the stories of people that are formerly and currently incarcerated, 5 stories, one at a time. So look out for that.
We need that. We need clips of that. We want to play that on this show, because that's another important conversation. You see, Ole, you over here giving us a little bit more. See, I told you, Black women, that is a conversation we have to about people who have been incarcerated and how they're trying to come into the world and what their story is, because the assumption is that that's a reform when they're incarcerated, right? And they push them out into the world, and they don't even, how do they adjust? And
exactly.
Bring us that. We need those clips, girl.
I got you, and I'll send you the links. People like to talk too much for currently and formerly incarcerated people. There's this narrative that they're voiceless. They're not voiceless. I might, as a lawyer, it might be my job to speak for them in the courtroom because they don't speak the language, and it's the system, operates by forcing people to have to deal with the abuse silently in court. But outside of court, they have a voice. The only thing is people aren't listening. So I think people like me have an obligation to amplify their voice, and I didn't think it was sufficient for me to have a platform, where people think it's insightful to hear my little secondhand glances at the system. Well, why not hear it from the people who really know? Hear from them, hear from their family, their experiences. You're moved by my little testimony. You're looking at it in court, but go ask them. They got the real story. So I think it's important I share that.
Girl, okay, yeah, we're bringing you back. It's already done. It's already said and done. You're doing the work, and you're doing more work on top of the work. Yeah. Not only in immigration for the incarcerated and formerly incarcerated. Girl, you on the streets. Your boots on the ground. It comes in many forms, and you are boots on the ground.
Shout out to Afro Puff, man, who's working and watching at the same time. Hey, Afro Puff, good morning. Zivis X, good morning to you, brother.
You're saying you're sorry, so say it again.
Man, my neighbors be loving my music, especially going paper parties. Man, what? They get to hear it all. And don't make me be in here making a song. Oh boy, I know they know the lyrics like it was. Nicole, how? Good morning.
Want my forgiveness, so say it again. You're my thunder, my darkest night. You just can't go back and make it right. 'Cause it's too late. Your time is up. Damage done and now it's stuck. 'Cause it's too late. You roll the dice, and now you have to pay the price. Yeah, I'm in a better place now. I'm not gonna worry, no. I'm not even sorry. You're gonna be the lonely one. I'm in a better place.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Here we go. When is milk hard to see? When is milk hard to see? When it's pasteurized.
You're saying you feel bad, so say it again. Only you can
Hey, you know what? No matter how much you push the envelope, it's still gonna be stationary.
deep inside. 'Cause it's too late. Your
Oh, wait a minute. You ever wonder who invented knock knock jokes? Dude should get a Nobel Peace Prize. Okay, I'm done. I'm done. I promise I'm done. What y'all say? Y'all want one more? Sure. Y'all heard the Energizer Bunny got arrested? Yeah, man. He was charged with the battery.
Be the lonely one. I'm in a better place now. I'm not gonna worry. No, I'm not even sorry.
All right, y'all. Y'all know what time it is.
Haitian Hero. They did a panel which featured people that I know. Wanda of L'Union Suite, and the Haitian Bridge, Gerline M. Joseph Woods, who we put her content on here when the when all the Texas border asylum seekers started going viral and started making headlines. Gerline was one of the first people and one of the only people that main media was using to have that conversation. We're talking main media, CNN, MSNBC, all those networks. And we used some of her content to on our channel as well. She is over Haitian Bridge Alliance, and Ancito Etienne, who is a Haitian journalist, as well as Jimmy Jean Lewis, who we know, that fine Haitian actor, brother Jimmy Jean Lewis. But they all had a conversation about Haiti.
I didn't know. I know.
Yeah.
This fine.
So yesterday they all had a conversation about Haiti, ways to help Haiti, what the diaspora can do, their experiences as immigrants and products of immigrants, because they want to. And thanks and shouts out to Haitian Hero and Act TV, who we're partnered with as well, for pushing this conversation, keeping it going, because it's very important that we continue the conversation about Haiti instead of putting it in the back of our minds and allowing mainstream media, people who are not Haitian at all, to lead this conversation. So yesterday they were having this conversation. There's a few clips I want to touch on, so that we can discuss. One of those clips starting off with Jimmy Jean Lewis. I apologize, guys. My throat was dry as hell. Jimmy Jean Lewis, who
it's the weather change.
It can be. Jimmy Jean Lewis, who yeah, you got, see, look at that. My Haitian influence is spreading. It is spreading. They know that.
James said you can't take credit for all of that Haitian influence, but go ahead.
Now that
wait a goddamn minute. Rebecca, did you just see that?
I did.
That was real. That was
Haitian
real
by
cute for him.
association. Haitian by association, and that's all right.
That's real
I
cute
pay
for him.
attention. I pay attention.
I don't know if James was ready, but I was ready. I said it's sweet. I don't know. But no, seriously.
That's my pearls.
Butter. I had to wait and see what
Rebecca can only
So
did I push the envelope? I did. If I push the envelope too much, I'll be calling you afterwards apologizing.
No, you didn't, because you
I might as well apologize now. Let me go ahead and apologize now, because if I pushed it too far, I'll be calling you as soon as the show is over.
No,
Rebecca, let me shut up.
You kept it like, you good, right?
Okay.
Sorry,
Go ahead, Rebecca. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
As I was saying, the Haitian influence from me and my fellow Haitian by association brother, DJ XKC, it is there. When I cough, if I'm choking, instead of coming over and do the Heimlich maneuver, whatever that word is, but instead of doing the process that they teach you here in America, just ahem. And you will be healed. But no, yesterday, ACT TV, Partners in Health, facilitated a conversation again with Jimmy Jean Lewis, Wanda Tima, who I know of L'Union Suite, shouts out to Wanda, Gerline Joseph, and of the Haitian Bridge Alliance, and Ancito Etienne on health and human rights in Haiti. But it was just more than that conversation as well. They had a conversation, to me, that spread into the realms of being a product of immigrants in the diaspora, with the negative parts, the negative connotations of being someone who's part of the diaspora, and somebody who was not only in America as an immigrant, but somebody who was in Europe as an immigrant. So that to hear those stories and how we can do better as Haitian Americans who sometimes also get it wrong in leading the conversation. So let's take a look at this first clip of Jimmy Jean Lewis talking about the diaspora.
The word diaspora is something that is both negative and positive. Depends on how you look at it and where you look at it from. We can easily say that we're all from the diaspora. Whether you're here, Americans born here because you left your continent, Africa. Whether it's Haitians living here because they leave Haiti, and yes, I am part of that group of people who was not forced, but deeply encouraged to leave Haiti for the search of a better life. Not me directly, but my parents before me and then me. And as every single Haitian living in Haiti, it seems to be the direction where everybody's going to. They all want to leave Haiti because they think that being outside of Haiti is much better than being in Haiti. So when you know the differences between being in Haiti and outside of Haiti, then you kind of try to not only understand, sympathize with the people in Haiti, and also see how you can potentially help, how you can bridge that gap between us seen as diaspora and the Haitians living in Haiti.
Yes. So yeah, it is dope. He's dope. Jimmy Jean Lewis is dope. That's what
Rebecca, real quick, before we move too fast, I do want to give a shout out to the partners. David, if you don't mind dropping that lower third so that we can show that it was facilitated by Partners in Health. And they are a Boston-based nonprofit healthcare organization. And they facilitated this yesterday. Shout out to them for pulling this together, because you have many more clips. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Yes, and not only the Partners in Health, which shouts out to them for real. Drop that lower third again. The Haitian Bridge Alliance, which we know Gerline Joseph is a part of, but the Barbancourt Foundation. If you guys hear me say Barbancourt a lot on here, that is our Haitian rum. That is the rum of Haiti. And they have a foundation that they also are, which they do a lot of great things for Haiti themselves, and would love to bring the Barbancourt dispensary and everything where it's made back into Haiti. So we're working on that. But and L'Union Suite is one of the go-to Haitian media, social media channels, okay, on Instagram, on Facebook. They're the Haitian, they're the Haitian American, and shouts out to them because they've been doing this since it wasn't popular. They've been holding this conversation for Haitian Americans like me, for us to move forward, continue having the conversations, and to push out the correct narratives, not the ones that we see on where Haiti is, you know, the poorest, when we're actually the richest in our history, the richest in our production, what we have in our land and in our people. We are that. We are that. And we're a product of greatness out of Africa. So shouts out to L'Union Suite for holding it down, and just showing us that our Blackness isn't just a monolith. We are all types of Black, and we should be respected that way as well. So, anywho, what Jean Lewis was talking about, and when it comes to the diaspora, there is negative connotation when it's attached to it, right? What we hear a lot of times is people from the diaspora, the Black people from the diaspora, who are products of it. A lot of our stories have been like, man, some growing pains, man, like, to get where we're at now as products of the diaspora, and being a part of it. But also when you say you are from there, a lot of people just consider you to be, oh, she's an immigrant, he's an immigrant, that's it, and they don't speak English, and go back to where you come from. We get those too. And a lot of that also goes into the system. A lot of health, a lot of jobs don't come to us. A lot of healthcare doesn't come to us. A lot of that conversation is built around being a product of immigrants, being a part of the diaspora. Also being a part of the diaspora, I will say, we don't get it right as well. Being people who are Americans or outside of Haiti, growing up outside of Haiti, we don't get it right as well. And many times we have the conversation, our information isn't correct. And that's why I say it's important for us to really reach back to our journalists and our people and our media who is on the ground to help us facilitate the conversation correctly, and to see what people actually need, and to see what the story actually is. Because sometimes we can follow the stories right here in America as well and get it wrong and think, oh, we're Haitian and we know, and get it 100% wrong. Just like when we started collecting for Haiti, and they had to tap in on the ground and say, hey, I know y'all sending this, but let's hold off on that because we can cook for ourselves. What we really need is tents. These are the things that we need. We need water purification tablets, because that's going to help us. Those are the things that we were learning very quickly on this recent time with the stories surrounding the earthquake. So that was.
But I mean, it's good that you guys are willing to. Somebody got to be able to correct you. You know what I mean? You can't, no matter how much good you're doing, everybody needs a chin check every now and then. There's nothing wrong with that, because it makes you better.
Yeah. So in this next clip, I really want to play the same person, which is Jimmy Jean Lewis, who is an actor. And you guys have probably seen him in different movies. I believe he was that one movie with, what's her name from the Parkers, the lead from the Parkers, and I don't know why I'm not getting her name right now. Who they tried to cancel? No, her mom.
Monique.
Yes, I know what I was thinking. But in that movie with them, and he was the love interest in that one movie with them on the island. I forget. Is it Beauty Shop?
Is this the one where
it's Fat Girls?
Okay.
It's the one. Okay, so it's the one where the premise. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm about to say he's also in Heroes. He was actually his name was the Haitian, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
In Heroes, and he has the ability, I think, to stop everybody's powers. Heroes is like so a superhero, kind of like, so that was on NBC years ago. But yeah, he was one of those guys. That's where I remember him from. He saw the name, like, oh, I know him.
And he's when we see him, we're like, he's ours. Look at us. Look at
us. That's real.
We are not just poor people that look at us. We got great things coming out of our country. So yeah, we always we'll pull him anytime we can. But in this next conversation that he had, he talks about growing up in Europe and being in Paris and going on a field trip. And this is the first time that he realized that he was Haitian.
I've been impacted by being an immigrant myself, first time where I really realized that I was not just Black, but I was also Haitian. It was going to school in Paris. I was probably 13 or 14 when there was a time where my school was going from France to England. And in that year, because of AIDS, out of all the kids that were going to England, I was the only one that was asked to do an AIDS test. So straight away, I knew I was Haitian. And with that, I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with that? Let me recognize who I am and move with that.
You guys understand it's a 13-year-old growing up in the where racism literally just birthed itself and tried to bring itself over here. But, in Europe, and knowing that at the age of 13, you're going on a field trip as a child and an AIDS test is presented to you. An AIDS test is presented to you, the only person. And you knew back then, because we know that whole shakedown in Brooklyn when they the Haitians shook down the Brooklyn Bridge, I believe in the early 90s, late 80s, where they shook down the Brooklyn Bridge because of that conversation of Haiti having AIDS, Haiti being the product of AIDS, Haiti bringing AIDS into the U.S., Haiti being the creator of AIDS, which is such a lie, which is misinformation. But even to know that it was in other countries at the time as well. And this 13-year-old knew about that conversation and was literally the only kid to take an AIDS test just so he can go to Europe. That's a time when he said something key. Not only did I know I was Black, I knew I was Black, but that's when I realized I was Haitian. Haitian. Because they and I say this all the time, when it comes to Black immigrants, something about being an African immigrant, when it comes to the Caribbean, specifically an Haitian immigrant, it's just the bottom of the bottom. They make sure that you are treated as such. When we see white immigrants come into this country, we have the conversation, or in other countries too, or even the lighter brown immigrants. Haitian immigrants are treated as the bottom of the barrel, as we've seen here in America, but not only here in America. We heard Jimmy Jean Lewis's account of growing up and how AIDS was attached to Haitians. They needed to stick it to somebody, and they needed to stick it to the disease on somebody, a group of people who to them are less than. And for us, it's like Haitians have to pay for they have to pay every day of their lives for their freedom, for rebelling, for being the first Black country to rebel and win, and the free first Black republic in the world. We're talking about the world, okay? The world. And that's from the chains of our slave owners. And we don't play that, right? And that's why I'm allergic to slavery. That's just my DNA. That's in my DNA. I don't like. That's why I don't like my job. But and so I say this to say, but no, immigrants, Haitian immigrants, and America has even taught Black people who look just like us, growing up, to, if they, you're American and stand separate. They even have a systemic way of doing that separation amongst people of the diaspora and just, Black Americans, and only to grow up and have a conversation with my fellow Americans. My best friend is a Black American. Ben, you are. DJ X3C, you are. And for us to have the conversation and really see, it's America that pit us against each other. Black people, and what they wanted to make you understand is that you're different. You're the type of Black that's different. You're the good Black. You're American Black. And that other Black, even though that was born in America, it's not the same as you. It's not the same as you. They're coming to steal your job. It's always divide and conquer. Yes. So the same conversations that we hear them telling us as a whole, that we hear them telling immigrants, period, they want for Black Americans to do the same thing. They want that. And that's what it is, divide and conquer. And that is where, I'm glad that we have these platforms so that we can have the conversations and realize that is not the case. Hey, we understand that when we walk outside, Black, that's all they see. It's Black. And we get disrespected already with that. Now they want us to be disrespected again for being immigrants. We just get disrespected all across the board. And that's why I say, I think because being the first free Black republic in the world, that we should be honored as such. And if they're not going to honor us, we're going to honor us. And it should be part of critical race theory about the true story of Haitians and the true story of when Christopher Columbus settled in Haiti, right? And what he actually did there. Read that book, guys. the lies my teacher told me, and you'll definitely hear the account, and you'll be enlightened to know the truth. But with that being said, the next clip that I wanted to pull up on is Wanda of L'Union Suite. You guys head over to Instagram and follow L'Union Suite if you want all your things Haitian outside of the stories that are just, oh, look what's happening in Haiti, fires, death, all that stuff. There are actually good stories and good content and beautiful photos coming out of Haiti that they actually exist. But she actually holds the conversation about how Haitians are perceived in the media. Let's take a look.
We're not just the poor is this and the poor is that. We're not just, the 15 or 30-second clips you see on CNN and these other media platforms where something is going on and it trends for a week or two and then it disappears. We're more than that. Like, yes, we have all these things going on in our country, but we have people like Gerline, like she said, that's on the ground doing the work. There's entertainment figures like Jimmy, that is Haitian, that's, winning awards and doing the things that he's doing. A lot of times when people talk about Haitian, you're only hearing the negative. You have everyday heroes, everyday Haitians that's breaking records, making history in all these different areas. And a lot of times, because it doesn't say Haitian, it just says Black, a lot of people don't know these are our people. Like, these are people that grew up in, small towns and rural towns in Haiti that have gone on, immigrants that's gone on to do these amazing things. And I feel like it's become my responsibility to make sure that we are forever not just saying we're Black this, we're Black that, but what that means. We're keeping the information in the media. We're sharing the everyday stories. We're sharing.
Yep. And that's exactly what I was just discussing, that is, shoot, that's my duty. Even if I'm not here on our channel every day discussing Haiti, on my, my Twitter, I'm sharing a story, maybe positive, maybe something that's going on now, on my stories on Instagram, because if you follow me, you will know, right? Because we're going to have to, that is our job. I think all of us who are coming from the diaspora when it comes to Haiti, just like all of us, even me, who is American here, it's our duty, for you guys who are here with me to share our Black history, because even Black American history is at the bottom when it's people are scared of it.
That's right.
They're afraid of it. So it's our duty to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, because my kids that I'm going to have one day, my little big head kids, they are going to know their history correctly, where they come from. They're going to know that it's time for Haiti to throw out them damn books talking about Christopher Columbus discovered Haiti. They're giving to the kids. They're going to know the truth about being Black and the beauty, not only our history of living in slave homes, which is a part of our history, right? But not only that, of our history of coming from kings and queens, not only our history of that, we're going to know it all through and through, from every generation to every generation.
That's right.
There's a story there. That's how beautiful being Black is. My God, it's a beautiful day to be a Black person.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
To be
it's
Black.
A beautiful day for a neighbor.
Hello. And here we have Uncito. He said something very, very important in the last clip. He said about something is going to turn around. I feel that in my shana now. Something is going to turn around when it comes to Haiti. It's and people's perceptions of Haiti because of us. Something is going to turn around. And for a long time, they had their foot on their feet on our necks. And with our history and who we are, it's like our ancestors would be confused at the way that we are living today when it comes to Haiti. But there is something so much more that's about to happen. Let's take a listen.
Okay.
That Haiti was forced to pay for its independence and the legacy of that injustice. In the second, or the non-accidental events by foreign actors that have caused and not just influence Haiti's current situation. Haiti was supposed to be, as I mentioned before, a safe haven for again, all people, Black people, to seek refuge whenever they were being persecuted, in whether they are affected by disasters. But what's important and very interesting is that I don't think our ancestors ever imagined that today Haitians would be seeking refuge in other lands, right? Gerlin was telling us about all the work that she's been doing. Like our ancestors could, if they were hearing that today, they would not even comprehend it. That's not the country that they had built and left behind for us. So to me, giving all this context, what I would like folks to know is that Haiti is in the process of becoming what it's always meant to be.
In the process.
Oh, I wish we had some more of that right there. I felt that in my shining eye.
You felt that last line too?
Yes. I'm like, give me some more. Haiti is in the we're going to be what we always were meant to be, right? And that is what we already are, and what the rest of the world has to catch up on, because there's something that pushes us to continue to be so strong in the midst of everything that's happening. There are people on the ground that are doing work. But what the media does is only go to the places that are very, very hurt, very, very behind on times, very, very just showing people who aren't smiling, people who are devastated. Yes, our government is broken. Yes, these things are all a part of what's happening. But there is a lot that has to do with not only the media's perception in other countries of Haiti, but America's interference, Europe's interference into Haiti's business, and placing them in many places where they are forced to give up rights, give up money, or coming into the country and blindly and putting the blindfold over the Haitian people's eyes and taking from them. And that's a history that we know, even with Christopher Columbus. If we go into the history, we'll know that he documented the people of Haiti at the time, the originals on the island of Haiti when he pulled up, as people who were so nice, who wanted to give and give gold, and did this whole dinner and lunch for them. And in that time, they killed them off. They put them in chains and took their gold, took everything that they were giving them. And that's what we usually do as Haitians. But the same breath, we also are people who will fight. We will push, and we will take what's given to us. It's not that Haitians want to leave the country. The country is beautiful, but right now it is just a place that is unlivable for many in certain areas of Haiti. So telling them that the seeking refuge, seeking asylum here in America, the land of the free, which is told to them that it's the land of the free, the land of opportunity, and telling them that they need to stay in their country, go back to your land, or you don't belong here, is just a turn of events, because it's like, hey, Haiti has been a place that has assisted many other countries. If we look at a lot of Latin flags, we will see that red and that blue on the flag, because we helped a lot of countries gain their independence.
Yep.
Haiti did that. And also in the same breath, my dad has always told me this story since we were younger. There are countries in Europe, like Germany, who a lot of Germans who needed to seek refuge during the time of the Holocaust and things like that, to come over to Haiti and find safety. So there are areas on the high mountains where we'll see areas where Germans are living, or I believe the Polish or different people like that who are actually living in Haiti till this day. And yes, and that is a thing too. So there are a lot of people that you'll see with Haitians. I used to have my cousin's best friend, who we called our brother, who we were raised with, who was white, who was raised out of Haiti, and that wasn't nothing weird. It wasn't anything weird to me. But every time I would introduce them to my other Haitian friends, I'd be like, "Why is this white man speaking full Creole in your house?" Because there's history. There's history of Haiti saving his family, Haiti protecting his family from being killed off. So understand that Haiti has a lot of has helped a lot of people, has been the factor
of the United States,
of the United States
in the Revolutionary War. There's no United States of America without Haiti.
Chicago, it wouldn't be these areas and places without Haitians influence, without Haiti itself. So, as I've said in our 2017 clip of me getting Donald Trump together, put some respect on Haiti's name.
This is going to be a long one. It's like 3.5 minutes.
Oh, Jesus,
but it's worth it.
That's a lifetime, bro.
There's audio. This is a video produced by Grindr of the old gays who we've seen before watching Montero. We're not going to get hit because they don't really play any of Montero like audio or anything like that.
Oh boy, what have I walked into today? Let's run it.
Hey man, you brought a Viagra.
Hey, where am I doing it? No, here we go. Let's go.
What are your thoughts on Montero?
Montero who? The car?
Montero, Call Me By Your Name.
What the hell is that?
It's Lil Nas X's new music video.
Okay.
Have you ever seen it before?
No.
Have you heard anything about it?
No. We are old gays, you know.
Do you want to give it a watch now?
Yeah. Let's get watching. Show me. Let's do it, baby. It's time for
Bro, look at how Jesse spells his name though. Jesse.
Oh.
Jesse.
All right. Watch those snakes. Very homoerotic.
Oh, very satanic.
Woo, how cute. Ooh, got the spirit.
Stop.
What do you guys think so far? What's happening in the video?
It's very erotic, but they're talking about coke, aren't they?
Yeah.
I thought I heard cocaine.
I thought it was a version of Adam and Eden.
Adam is black, not white as I've always seen him portray.
That's the whole Bible thing. Well, we know it's fairy
I didn't see that
What do
coming.
you think about this lick?
Like a serpent.
It's
What do we think of this next look?
It reminds me of George Washington.
Are we feeling the curls?
Feeling the curls?
Am I feeling them? I'm having trouble seeing them.
What about the amount of skin he's showing?
Oh, not enough.
Where do you think he's
That
going?
dude is funny. I have no idea.
Heaven.
What do you think's going to happen next?
Don't leave me hanging. Come on.
Ow!
Ooh.
Oh my golly.
Look at that. Hot. Of course, he's descending into hell. Of course. Ooh, now it's getting juicy.
Don't.
Ooh. I gotta download this. This is hot. Ooh. Right up my alley.
Oh, we got a new devil now.
Okay. We started off in Eden and we ended up in hell.
Well, of course.
How do you feel about the second half?
I loved it. You gotta be stoned to watch that.
I wasn't stoned, but I watched it.
I know, but I would want to get stoned and watch it. And put it on a loop.
What's happening in the video?
A lot. I like it, the fact that there's a lot of certain sex acts that are being suggested.
I wouldn't watch it with my mother.
What do you think of this look?
Sexy.
He's a good bottom.
He could be a good top.
That's what I'm saying. Now he goes to a top, so he's versatile.
Is it a good looking Satan?
No, it's like an ogre.
Are you attracted to them?
No.
I'm attracted to what's below the head.
What do you think about the lap dance?
Nice.
He does it very well.
Does it make you feel a certain way?
Well, he spread his legs right into the demon.
It's arousing.
Are you picturing yourself in this scenario?
Are you kidding? I've been in that scenario.
What are you more into, Little Nas X or the devil?
Both.
Little Mo.
It's a little Nas.
Oh, Little Nas. I said Mo.
Is there a religious connotation here?
Absolutely.
And what is it saying?
He's as hot as hell. That's as ridiculous as I get anywhere on this.
What do you think about his pole dancing?
Bisexual.
Just sexual.
Yeah.
You guys ready to give it a try?
No!
No.
Are you crazy?
Oh, this is sick.
This is beyond sick. Bill, you're first.
Do we get hazard pay for this?
Oh, because we won't live.
Sorry, it makes me laugh because I'm scared.
Are they really about to do the pole dance?
No, man.
They about to break bones.
Oh God! Somebody's here.
I hear bones popping.
Oh my God, I'm caught.
Exactly. I feel it. You mess with Cat Picard like
Good,
that.
Jesse.
He does look like Cat Picard. See, Jesse's staying in shape. Jesse!
Jesse!
Look at Jesse!
Work it, girl. Oh, he's praying. He's down the hell quick.
Move it. Move it.
Oh, man.
Oh God!
Yeah, that's one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time. Goddamn.
And B is right. B said I absolutely love the old gays. Yes, the old gays are hilarious. The 60 and up old gays, oh my gosh. They tell you some stories and you just sit there like, really?
So when I looked up, when I was trying to find actual video of Lil Nas in the Gucci suit.
I love the spelling of his name, bro. Go ahead, David.
No, well, when I was trying to find video of Lil Nas in his Gucci suit, I YouTubed Lil Nas X Gucci suit, and somehow it came up with this.
You don't have to explain. You don't have to explain. You know that's cool, man. Whatever.
No, I was just like, okay.
No, it just sounded like
I know that we gotta play.
It just sounded like you were trying to give an explanation, David.
And when I tell you, they are.
No, I wasn't
TikTok.
explaining myself away.
I know this mess with you, bro.
Is hilarious. When I tell you, they make you laugh so much on TikTok. Jesus. my favorite thing about this whole thing is how my man on the end here. Let's see if we can get a good shot of him.
Right there. Yep.
It's not good enough.
Yeah, him.
Is that he has the Brett Favre copper top or copper tone, whatever it's called, the copper fit gloves. My man's rocking it. Look at him. He's ready. He's ready for
like,
war, man.
He's like, don't let the old age fool you. I will currently beat your ass.
Hey, he's ready for it.
Man, this is good. This is good.
He's ready for the Proud
next
Boys.
to him, Captain Picard. I'm so ashamed of you, Bobby Tunde. Why would you do Patrick Stewart like that?
He does look like Captain Picard.
He does, bro. He does.
No, he looks more like Magneto.
He looks like Picard in another 20 years.
And what's the anyway,
Xavier.
Keep it going.
Yeah, he looks slim like Charles Xavier.
Oh man. Whew, I needed that laugh. What else you got, David?
I got one more thing. We were talking about Big Bird earlier.
Oh boy.
And I meant to have this included when Rebecca was with us on Monday, I guess, Tuesday, whenever we covered Big Bird originally. But you guys will appreciate this for sure. So Star Wars has been advocating for vaccines for decades, apparently, because this ad, AP5, goes to 1978.
Ian McKellen, that's a good name I was trying to think of.
Ian McKellen, yeah.
A long time ago, before science was politicized. Parents of Earth, are your children fully immunized? Make sure, call your doctor or health department today, and may the force be with you. All right, pretty cool.
So for the listening audience, yeah, you got R2-D2 and C-3PO pushing for immunization, 1978.
I mean, the sad thing is, folks, we know that 100% of all of this stupidity around the vaccine is driven by folks trying to make a profit. And they don't care if you die. Because vaccines we've been doing vaccines since we came up with vaccines, right? I know that's an aphorism, but the fact is that we're mastering that science. I mean, we're almost at the stage where we can program our DNA to do, like, why would we run away from the science that is taking us into the future, all because some clowns on the other side of the equation trying to get you to buy horse dewormer, go have you crapping out horse dewormer so that they can make some money. That's how crazy this thing is in our timeline.
Yeah, no, I just saw this, and I don't know, like, I guess this was just a general vaccine PSA or ad, because I don't know that there was anything specific in that time period. So it's probably just measles, and the general vaccine schedule. But like, just comparing, like, back then when, I mean, I'm sure there were people that were, suspicious and whatnot, but, they were minimal and they didn't have the internet to amplify themselves. And then you just, put that.
Well, you don't want to take the vaccine? Well, then.
I'm not going to get the vaccine. Then die. What do we do? Argue with you? I'm not on the debate team. This isn't mock trial. Aren't you worried about the side effects? I'm worried about the disease. Well, they're tracking you through the microchip. They're tracking you through the phone you're watching this on. Get the vaccine.
Let's run this next clip. It's a little bit of comic relief. It's another clip from Trey Crowder on the far right being offended, right? They have the nerve to be offended because we call them domestic terrorists, but that's exactly what the hell y'all are. Let's take a listen to this clip.
Well, after months of frothing at the mouth at school board meetings, the far right is incensed at the notion some might consider them domestic terrorists because of that, which I find pretty hilarious, because they're basically like, hey, so you know how I've been screaming at those fascists on the school board about doctors being frauds? Well, now, because of that, them and the commie queers are calling me names. Can you believe that? There's just something funny about the fact that the people behind all your papa's favorite racial slurs are upset at a little generalization. These are the same people that when a black guy gets shot for wearing a hoodie, they'll say, well, he shouldn't have been dressed like a thug. But now they're like, so just because I threaten those who disagree with me with violence in an effort to intimidate them into aligning with my agenda, that makes me a terrorist all of a sudden? Yeah, it kind of does, man. These people are so stupid, and they they hide it all behind the guise of being concerned parents. Oh, so concerned parents are terrorists in Biden's America. Is that it? You're not concerned parents. You're brainwashed wingnuts who have children. It's the first part we care about. The second part's kind of ancillary. All right? I've got kids. Don't lump me in with your horse shit. All right? There's plenty of other parents out here. We're pretty concerned too right now. But whereas you're concerned that your baby girl might have to wear a mask in the middle of a pandemic and be taught that slavery was bad, we're concerned about our kids sharing the monkey bars with your little pee-wee petri dishes. We're concerned that one of y'all might do something crazy if the school keeps taking the appropriate precautions, probably on account of you keep saying you're going to do that like a fucking terrorist would.
Jesus.
And mostly, we're concerned about the future our kids might inherit if you fucking slack-jawed, backward-ass, broke-brained, empty-headed, hate-filled lunatics have your way. How's that for name-calling, you dipshit?
My bad on the language. This was originally meant for the after party a week ago.
That's like 3 words. That's $300. Okay, we're gonna send it to Trey. Trey, you owe us $300 for all that profanity. But man, what is it about hearing white folks with country accents read their racist white folks with other country accents? Why is it so enjoyable, man? That was funny to me.
Very much so, because he went off. Go off.
That's what we need more of. Go off on your fellow white folks, man. Because these little petri dishes, kids, little snot-nosed, raggedy kids on the monkey bars. That's what we're afraid of. On the monkey
bars that your kids playing on, that's what we're afraid of. Well, yeah, we are calling you terrorists if you want to think about it honestly.
Because on account of that, you doing some terrorism.
Okay.
Call a thing a thing.
Call a thing a thing.
All right, let's close out with these last 2 clips and then we're out of here. Black Man Greatness Part 1 and Part 2. Let's run Black Man Greatness Part 1. Here we hang on a second, make sure we have that ready. Go.
You realize you ain't like them other emissions at the trail ride.
Hey, you better ride that motherfucker! You better ride! Woo! I'm gonna have to get to know you before you ride out on too good. God damn it!
I don't know if that's just she made
better ride that mother.
Bro, I don't know if it's Black Man greatness so much as Black woman greatness, because she's the ultimate hype man I've ever heard in my life.
Ultimate, bro.
I know. Run that thing back real quick while James fixes camera.
Right. When she realized you ain't like them other emissions at the trail ride.
Hey, you better ride that motherfucker! Woo! I like a man around a hard goddamn. Come here, boy. Woo! I'm gonna have to get to know you before you ride out on too good. God damn it!
James, ain't nobody gonna hype you like a Black woman, man. All right. One last one before we get out of here. Here's Black Man Greatness Part 2. Let's run it. And here, oh, there it is. Welcome back, James. He's back in time. Here's Part 2. Oh yeah, this was crazy.
Swing that ball. Go back up!
Hey, one more loop. There it is. We're gonna walk away. Wow.
Yeah, I need to go find out where that track is.
I'm trying to talk about his you're trying to talk about his athletic prowess too.
Yeah, man, everybody in the chat said the same thing. Shit, that man look good as fuck.
I can't cover not one news story.
How tall is he? How tall he look to you? About 6'3"?
Man, he look like he about a good 6'5", 280, 300 maybe. Woo, hell yeah.
Toss it.
The way he's swinging that thing.
He toss it. James, you said you can swing me around like that any day, huh?
Man.
Throw me across the room like that.
Pick me up, swing me around. What's up? Let's call that the helicopter.
I was gonna say I'm trying to talk about his athletic prowess, but I think you're talking about the same thing too, Jay.
Yeah, it's athletic prowess. And he look good as hell. He got no shirt on.
Man.
He just need to go ahead and put the tights on.
Them guns are boom.
Exactly.
How
guns.
many times you go, man, look. I was trying to track where the what is that called? I forgot the
shot put. Right.
I was trying to see where it landed. It looked like it landed all the way back there by the fence. You see that black fence back by the pavilion? Way there in the back. That's how far that man tossed that. That's insane. That's insane.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. And you can
still see it's going. It's going. Okay. It's going. It's going. As far as mixing in with the clouds now. Okay, now you can't see it. It's gonna drop out of the clouds, speed it up just a little, and you're gonna look at the ground right there by the fence and way there in the back. Here it comes, coming down. Boom. See it?
Wow.
That man tossed that all the way through. That's the outfield. He went from basically home base to the outfield fence with the shot put. Dope. And James is just saying, listen, just toss me.
Spin me around. It's okay.
Just toss me across the room.
Toss me. This way me around, toss me across the room.
That's all I got today. We went through, David, did we leave any story undone? I think we went through every story. You've heard me nonstop. I think that's enough.
Right. I guarantee. I guarantee it.
You didn't have to agree so much, James.
I mean, you've been holding it down, Ben. Good job.
Love you, bro. I'll see you tomorrow, man. Let me get out of here.
Look at Ben. Oh, Ben was on camera. We missed your little big head self.
I was on camera, and it didn't cut
off.
He
was on camera, and it didn't cut off. That makes me not feel like
it
wasn't nothing wrong with that damn camera.
No, there wasn't. No, we were there the other day, man. Damn.
Look, I was about to say the only reason I haven't played yet is because David hadn't brought my audio up on the screen. So.
I can't get no respect.
There we go. Look.
There it is. Later, folks.
All right, brother Ben. Love you, man. Man, y'all, thank you again so much for joining us this morning. Y'all stay tuned. Should I say y'all join us tomorrow? Same bat time, same bat channel, man. Y'all gonna be great today. Let me go ahead and give y'all affirmation. Ooh, this is a good one. All right, here we go. I am grateful for the opportunity to align myself with peace, joy, and prosperity. I am grateful for the opportunity to align myself with peace, joy, and prosperity. Y'all go be great today, man. Y'all have a great one. Love y'all, mean it. And if you want to donate to the Help Bubba Get His Ass to Jamaica Fund, DJ X3C on Cash App and Venmo, and DJ Exclusive on PayPal, y'all. Love y'all, mean it. See y'all tomorrow. Deuces.
Can't stop.